Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means. Everybody's asking the same question they always ask on this day at this particular time. And you know what question that is? It's, hey, did you see this one? Hello, everybody. My name is Jason, and I am not your host this week. However, Steve is your host this week. Hello, Steve.
Hi, it's me, Steve, your host this week on the greatest show ever made. Hey, did you see this one? Welcome, everybody, and to all of our other hosts, Ben, Jason, and Kaylin. Kaylin, Jason, regulars, Ben, guest of the week, returning from last week for part 2 of the 2-part Escape From series. Last week, I think we did Escape from New York. I can't remember. But this week, we're doing Escape from LA.
Los Angeles. Do you know what really bugs me about the naming convention? The first one's called New York and this one's called LA. You call one NY and one LA or both their names. Sorry, go ahead, Steve. I've been thinking about that all day.
I wrote that down too. I
had to say it.
That's but nobody picky. Calls it NY. That's like not a thing people call it.
Fair enough.
No one's like, I'm going to NY for the weekend, you know? Nobody says that. Also, New York, one syllable each. It's the same thing.
You're right.
So, yeah.
It's kind of like if two teams are playing each other and you call one team by their city and the other team by their name or whatever.
Right. Sorry, I was trying to log into Twitch and I forgot that I rebooted all of my settings and stuff, so I don't have my auto logins going. Anyway, yeah, we're back for LA, a movie that we all watched. And I think the first on the agenda is to go through all of us here and talk about the first time we saw this movie and sort of a brief impression that it made on us the first time we watched it. And Ben, I since you're the guest, we'll let you go first.
Sure, thanks. The first time I saw this movie, I honestly don't remember. Much like the last time I saw this movie, I don't remember it. I just remember it not being Escape from New York. As much as I wanted it to be the same thing, it is not. It's always nice to see Kurt Russell back, so seeing him as Snake again, fantastic. But I've always remembered, not just my opinion, but most people I've talked to being like, this movie is trash, don't bother. I'm very curious to see what everyone else thinks.
Nice. This is going to be a fun episode.
All right, fair. Let's move on to Kaylin. Kaylin, when's the first time you saw the movie Escape from LA starring Kurt Russell, directed by John Carpenter?
So, first time I saw it was about a month ago when I ordered Escape from NY and Escape from LA off of that one's for you, Jason.
Thank you.
Off of Amazon. Oh, Ben, maybe you can answer this. I have a weird feeling maybe I have a fake copy. The DVD just says Escape on it.
Yeah, that's a bootleg.
Oh, fuck! Is it
you
really?
Got it from eBay?
I got it from Amazon.
Oh.
Is it a bootleg?
That's so weird.
It could very well be, unless it was sold. It was probably sold by somebody using Amazon to peddle their wares, not actually from Amazon.
Right.
Yeah,
because there's another thing too. Yeah, a different. Well, see, because when I play it, it doesn't take up the full screen of my TV. Like it's widescreen, but it doesn't do the full widescreen. It's like a full screen widescreen.
Okay.
So it's got.
Do people get up and walk in front of the camera?
Yeah. No. The movie is quality.
Did they make screeners in 1996? or camera in theater? I know screeners are a different thing.
But yeah, no, I saw both of them a month ago. I'm trying to remember if I got it because we were gonna do it, or I was just like, oh, I should get those movies. But yeah, I saw it a month ago. We'll talk more as we go on, but I could see people who like NY not liking this, and I could see people liking this and not liking NY.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right.
Oh no.
We gave you a lot of grief last
This
time.
might be a lopsided episode. All right. So, Kaylin, thank you. Jason, when's the first time you saw the movie Escape from LA? Today, probably.
I
assume?
watched it today. Yes, but I will give a little bit of anecdote about how I remember this movie. I remember when it came out, and I remember being like, "Whoa, that looks awesome! I bet it's so cool, but it's probably too gory, and it'll make me scared because I used to be a real wuss when I was 11 when it comes to
Why were you such a wuss?
I don't know. I've told this story on the show. I do know, actually. It's because I watched RoboCop when I was 8.
And you weren't automatically engulfed?
It did
RoboCop is pretty violent.
it's
Kaylin.
pretty fucked. And
Yeah,
It's
awesome.
fantastic. Yes, I agree completely.
but I was 8 years old, and it did the opposite of desensitize me. It like made me overly empathetic
Okay.
to movie gore and stuff. And
But you know movies are fake, right?
I do now.
Kaylin, I feel like you're trying to convince him now, but he's not 8 anymore.
No,
He's
Yeah,
not an
but
8-year-old anymore.
I was actually
Like, what-
part of my review of this movie is going to be that like I kept waiting for the exploding hand moment from the first movie, but it just never comes. This movie is like they toned down everything and turned up the volume on a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember when it came out, and in my head, I mentioned this last week briefly, but like I remember it being like this big shiny blockbuster. But when you watch the movie, it looks like a fucking John Carpenter movie. It looks like They Live.
Oh.
It looks like the first movie. You know, it's got that. He's got a
With a little bit of gloss, though.
with a little
would you
bit
say?
of gloss. You're right. He's wearing he's wearing
Yeah,
shinier
there's a CGI
leathers.
shark.
There's a CGI shark and
glossy.
CGI
That's
Universal
not
Studios.
That is not gloss.
No, I meant like the CGI shark looks glossy because they didn't know how to do CGI yet.
Perfect.
It's
Yeah.
swimming swimming all wrong.
Yeah.
And when
It
they're
was making moves that sharks can't move. It's
That's
like
not
just
how that
fully like
anatomy works.
tilting.
right, that's
All right.
yeah.
That's your first impressions. Gotcha.
Sorry, Jason.
I mean, just to respond to your like, it looks like a John Carpenter movie. All of his movies look the exact same up until I think The Ward, and then it like somebody convinced him to like use different lights or something. I don't know what it is, but that movie does not look or feel as much like a John Carpenter as everything else. My first time watching this, I was a teenager probably, and I did not particularly care for the first one that much because I thought it was boring, but like that's because my child brain was just like, I'm used to watching The Mummy and shit. Like I love The Mummy, action every 5 seconds, huge set pieces, special effects. And then I saw this and I immediately was like, this is way better. And then I, grew a little bit and I watched this one a bunch more times, but I never really went back and watched the first one all that often. I did watch it every once in a while, and I did like the first one. And then I hadn't watched either of them for like, I don't know, 15 years maybe. And I was like, for, I don't know, like that amount of time was convinced the first one was better just because that was kind of the consensus amongst most people and most like John Carpenter aficionados and film geeks are like, the first one's the best. And the second one, you should just ride a CGI shark to hell and forget that it ever was made. Don't worry about it. But watching it today, I don't know, man. It's pretty fun. It's so goofy. It's so strange. And I kind of liked it. I don't know if I would say that it's better than the first one, but I will say that I did enjoy how crazy it went with caricaturizing like stereotypical LA archetypes, I guess. Like just how they'll take like
It succeeds
the worst
in different areas.
Sure. They like take the worst type of people and then they, crank up the volume to like 11 on how weird it is. Anyway, so yeah, the first time I saw it was high school and then I hadn't watched it until today. And now let's get into talking about it, I guess.
Well,
yeah.
here we are, boys.
Can
and
I
boys.
say that this movie did what we wanted when we were talking about New York, we were saying, oh, why couldn't it be like they should have done this. This one kind of did that. It did the things that we wanted the other one to do. But then in doing that, it ends up going a different kind of, like it's a different type of movie. So like I wouldn't necessarily say it's better. It's different, and it does succeed where the other one didn't. But it also is a bit more of a joke, sort of.
Yeah,
Where
For sure, 100%. Yeah, it's goofy,
Yeah.
man.
We
It's
definitely-
so
I
Goofy.
Tries to be a
specifically,
big action film, and it can't,
yeah.
in my opinion.
I specifically
some-
criticized in the first one how Snake is just skulking around for so long, but in this, it's almost not. He's just doesn't have any of that left, and when he does it, he'll like just get caught immediately, or his gun is way bigger, so he's just like starts shooting without thinking. And Kalen's right, like the joke. Or right, was it Ben who said the thing about it being like a kind of a joke? Kalen. Yeah. So,
but I agree completely.
so to expound on that a little bit, he hits all the same beats through the movie as far as his dialogue. He doesn't say much. He's kind of a silent protagonist character, but we do get the same thing at the beginning where he's like, "Call me Snake, gotta smoke," and then at the end he says, "Call me Plissken," and then smokes. So it's like they made him Duke Nukem in the second one.
Yeah. Well, there's also the same jokes about "I thought you'd be taller."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask,
Yeah, 'cause
actually.
it used to be, I thought you were dead, and now it's I thought
Well,
you were taller.
it's
or whatever.
they sort of do like an Austin Powers-y thing where they take the best of moments from the first movie and just redo them again with a bigger budget and like a more ridiculous scenario, right?
Agreed. And I think what we got with Escape from LA is everybody complained about Escape from New York being boring, not being big enough, just being like a low budget attempt at storytelling. So
Yeah.
Carpenter's like, well, I'll just take the exact same script. I'll get Kurt to rewrite some parts, and then we'll throw a bunch of money at special effects and see how it goes. And it did not go well.
It's
It did not go well at all.
It's 1996, so this bad CGI costs the most, and the bad like green screen shit cost a lot too, and it all just looks bad. The best parts are the matte paintings, I thought. Yep. The few set pieces they actually have were cool. The basketball sequence in which is basically just like they replaced the wrestler with the basketball sequence. Like the movie almost has the same beats. Instead of they just turned Brain heel instead of having him be his buddy. And he does, Snake doesn't have a party through the whole movie. He's just kind of by himself meeting different characters. And while these all sound like criticisms, for me, as an idiot, I love this movie in a like ironic way. You know how I was telling you guys about I watched Event Horizon and that people are like, "That's not a great movie, Jason," and I'm like, "No, that's my kind of dumb."
Yeah, but you're also not looking at it through any kind of nostalgic lens either,
That's
and
true,
no attachment to the character or the franchise or the movie, the first movie or this movie. So you're just kind of going in and experiencing it. And I think that like I have a lot of fatigue for modern day action movies that would try to emulate something like this, and to go back to a simpler time when they were just figuring out how to do a CGI submarine and being like,
Why
forgive
did they
this
do
bullshit.
that? Why not just get a bobsled and like mod it or something?
Well, I was wondering
That would have been so much better.
I was wondering if when there's a really weird
The whole underwater sequence is CGI.
Yeah.
Like,
No, like
they didn't do anything underwater for real.
Why make the sub CGI though? Like that could have been real. That could have been practical.
Because that entire sequence was underwater, so they didn't need it.
Just
So
get
they're like,
green screen.
But
You
okay,
wanted bigger action scenes.
yeah, but in '96, that's what
This-
what they
Dylan,
had
they
to
probably
offer.
ran out of money before they were like, oh no, this doesn't look as good as Jurassic Park did.
No,
And then,
But there is
like
one-
they thought the CGI sub was going to look great, and then it didn't, and then that's what we got.
there is one scene that I was wondering about. I wonder if you guys have any insight on, but when he first gets there, and he's hanging off the like overpass structure, and
Wait, are we just going to skip over the fact that he arrives in the same clothes as the first movie, like 14 years
no,
later?
no,
Still
I
wearing
just
the
have,
same fucking outfit?
this is related to the conversation about the special effects we're having.
Okay.
But he's just like hanging, and then they crumble this like overpass structure, and that I was wondering if that was a miniature, and I'm wondering if they used any miniatures in this movie at all. Ben, do you know?
I don't know.
I
Normally,
think the hang gliding or whatever it's called.
They were miniatures,
For some reason, I thought I read something about that.
but they were clearly people on hang gliders.
For when you're looking at them, but then there's a part where when they're off in the distance or something.
Okay. So maybe he did utilize miniatures because
it's possible.
I think
It
a
looks
lot
I
of
didn't
these-
notice it. I usually have an
half-size.
eyeball for old miniatures. Like I'm like, ooh, like I get
Yeah,
excited when I
exactly.
see them. But I mean, Kurt Russell is under 6 feet, so he's technically a miniature, right?
Fair
That's
enough.
rude. Rude.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm joking.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know how tall he is.
Kurt, we love you.
Old man.
Okay, now I have to look up how tall he is.
Yeah, he's like he's 6'2" or some shit.
It's weird that they actually fit in the same costume.
That
No, he's 5'9". He's 5'9". I was right.
Oh wow. It's been almost 20 years since the first one.
he just wears the same shit.
15 years.
That right?
But
Yeah.
in 7
Yeah, it's
years,
like the Han
I only
Solo
say it
thing.
for you guys because it's you guys. But if I wasn't talking to you guys, I'd still be wearing the same shit as yesterday.
But it's like the Han Solo thing, right? Where he shows up in the new Star Wars movies, and they're like, "You're still wearing the same jacket." He's not. He's wearing a slightly different jacket. It's the same style jacket, but in this, he's wearing the exact same jacket. He's just been running from the law, killing people in like the Mojave,
Cleveland.
and, like, yeah, just like running through Cleveland in the
I mean,
same
taking
camo
good care of
pants,
them.
Still
same
flashing
camo
those
pants, same
zippers.
jacket. Yeah,
he still has the zippers. Yeah, the Under Armour with zippers on it. They mentioned New Vegas at one point, which is interesting. Once again, I think that Fallout took a lot of inspiration from
but
this
it wasn't.
universe.
It was like in a different country. I can't remember.
Thailand.
what country it was. Thailand,
Malaysia
yeah.
or Thailand or something. Which
Yeah,
is
New
which
Vegas, Thailand,
which is
now
weird.
owned by the U.S.
The whole conceit of this movie is insane.
That was them setting up a threequel. They were gonna hit that third one. They're
that
gonna
would
use
work.
all their sets
It's
from
work.
Big Trouble in Little China and all their costumes and all their Uzis.
Big Trouble in New Vegas, Thailand.
When they made him change though, I was like, oh, I see how it is. They want to sell more toys. Like I don't think they ever made
Probably.
toys into this, but with with toy lines or whatever, they'll change the costume so that they can make another toy to sell or whatever.
Yeah.
My theory there was that they wanted to give him like a cool Matrix looking outfit, but they knew the character would never wear that, so they had to give him a reason to have to wear it. So they like forced him in the story to get new clothes.
And then he puts the boots on so provocatively.
Well,
Listen, it's
weird.
not our fault you were horny for
They
Kurt
were
Russell's legs.
Obviously just trying to make him look flashier like everything else
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah.
But
True.
And
like,
he looks
Yeah.
cool, man. He looks pretty
Yeah,
cool in this
but
one.
the thing is, they're like, here's your like new clothes, whatever. They're fire retardant. You're gonna need this, so put it on. And like, well, at least give them sleeves. It's the exact same thing. Because like
Yeah.
what's not protected now? All skin on your arms, your face, your head.
It's like, what happens if I lose my jacket? And it's like, well, keep your jacket on, man.
You'll look like you're wearing a cooler version of what you
Yeah.
just had on.
And what happens? He loses his jacket immediately.
Yeah.
And his big gun. All the gadgets that they gave him, he just dumped to the side of the road.
But at
Also,
least,
when they ask like, he's like, "Where are my guns?" And they're just like,
Right behind me.
here.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Didn't you
looking
see
at
them
it.
in this cage behind me? They've been there the whole time. You telling me
also
you weren't eyeballing
I just
those?
ran down all your weapons. But I love scenes like that, like the old Rambo, like he's like putting all the shit
Yeah.
on. He doesn't do that per se, but it's more like a James Bond where Q.
Yeah, it's
is
like a dumb James Bond.
It's showing
And
off
when
each-
James Bond was already kind of dummy at that point anyway.
And
right?
what are these?
I would like
Those are just matches.
Don't touch that Plissken, that's my lunch. It's like a sandwich.
I would like to go back to what you were just saying, Jace, about Fallout again, because this time his countdown watch thing looks like a Pip.
It looks like a Pip-Boy. Yeah.
100%.
and those-
Oh,
The
cool.
technology
Yeah.
of the discs look like a future, like the way that the future was.
Mini disc players.
Well, they almost had it in 2013. They weren't too far off.
Yeah.
But
Wasn't that what was before MP3s? Was little mini disc?
Yeah, but it's an in-between technology that fell on its face. It's like beta.
Yeah, it was stupid.
It's like beta because they already had solid state disc like flash drives you could put music onto. But
It's pronounced Solid Snake.
But this whole series has the same kind of. It's got a parallel to. It's a time apocalypsized, a word I've just invented.
Yo, all words are just invented.
Okay, Kalen. So the conceit of Fallout is that China develops all this crazy technology because they have like no limits or something. But in the 50s, they nuke the States. But they've already got all this futuristic technology. So when they come back in 200 years out of the vaults, they've got future tech, but it also all looks like it's like 50s music. The cars look like 50s, but they have like hyperdrives in them. And this kind of has a similar vibe where like something happened. We talked about this last week. Something happened. Maybe a World War III gone too wrong, and everything froze in like 1985. Everything.
Yeah, I always just assumed it was like the Cold War went real war, and then everybody just started blasting each other or whatever, right?
Yeah, and then it gets.
When was the Cuban Missile Crisis?
60s.
That was the
early 60s.
It's part of the Vietnam.
Wasn't there something in the 90s with Cuba though?
No, there's the Gulf
Cuba
War.
Gooding Jr. rose to fame.
You were thinking of Cuba Gooding
the
Jr.
Cuervo guy reminded me of Shay, right? And I assume like they were trying to paint him in a bad light. Like I assume there's a little bit of propaganda behind that choice. Was my assumption.
Everything's propaganda.
That's true.
Propagando.
Propagandi, the band from the punk days.
I was gonna say a propagando is gonna be a character in the Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah, and he comes in, he just spewing nonsense about the fucking
With the Empire.
the Empire still being around.
The Emperor is still alive, I tells you.
Yeah, right. And then, well, episode 9. So I do. I feel I feel like it is an alternate universe where the time is there's better technology, but we're stuck in like 1985, and technology only evolved. And in the late 80s, there's 400% violence, and then in the late 90s, there's like the president. So, Steve, you were probably going to want to say what the plot was, but I'll just say quickly that the plot of this movie is essentially that it's
very simple.
This
we don't
time,
have to spend a lot of time on it.
This time, the prison island is actually California, part of California that gets split off when a really bad earthquake happens, and which is
also the plot of Double Dragon.
Yeah,
the movie Double Dragon
actually is. But they make that it's not a prison island, but it's where people who are being deported go. But you get deported now if you are a prostitute or an orphan or an atheist or a criminal or if you're a Muslim, apparently.
Or if you got a smart mouth.
And then we find out very early in the movie that not only do they deport you, but they electrocute you into insanity before they actually just let you go free.
Yeah.
Jason, I have a question for you when you have a chance.
Okay.
I know how you feel about intro credits. How did you feel about these intro credits?
I can't remember, actually.
There wasn't anything overly special about it. It was kind of simple, but I don't know if it was because it was
like
green on black. Yeah, it had like the kind of thing. I don't know why, but I was instantly like, oh shit. I was
Yes, I do remember now because I saw Stacy Keach and I got a half chub.
Gross.
Jesus.
Over Stacy Keach.
Yeah.
Just like throwback to Titus for you.
I like him. I like the moxie in that. He's like old, but he's got like a bad long hair wig on at this point.
I mean, that's how I felt when I first saw this and I saw Bruce Campbell in the movie at the credits, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And then I watched
He's kind
it and
of
was like,
unrecognizable.
Actually,
he has a giant gross mask on.
I forgot he was in the movie,
totally unrecognizable.
and I'm realizing now that he was the Surgeon General, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's like, "My God, they're real," which is like the best line in the whole.
That
movie,
was inappropriate. Hilarious, but inappropriate.
Going back to,
it was inappropriate, which is why it was funny. That's
going back to Stacy Keach. He's just a replacement for Lee Van Cleef, right?
Yeah.
That's all he is.
Yeah.
Give me Prison Break anytime.
They did have that dude who's in every other movie who looks like Meatloaf in this one. He's in They Live, and he's in.
Oh, who? Uncle Ben?
Yeah.
No.
President Uncle Ben Parker?
President Uncle Ben Parker was great, but no, the guy who's like the first general, who gives him the
Yeah.
rundown before he meets Stacy
yeah,
Keach.
yeah.
That's the guy who I think we were watching They Live, and I was like, is fucking Meatloaf in this movie right now? Also, when Uncle Ben shows up, I went, is fucking Johnny Cash in this movie right now?
I thought it was Johnny Cash
Terrible.
for a second too. I'm like,
Terrible.
what? Why do I know this face?
And then I looked it up, and I got a full. It went full because it was Uncle Ben Parker. And of course, with great power comes great responsibility, as we all say.
Yeah, kill your daughter.
And he has all of the power
Kill your
by
daughter.
making himself president for life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
so-
like the alternate universe Uncle Ben where he became the president just before a nuclear war broke out.
And Peter Parker actually dies and doesn't get spider powers.
No, he gets super spider powers but turns into a million tiny spiders. He like bursts like a spider egg.
That's not unlike a 90s storyline, honestly, in Spider-Man comics. But that's one part I left out of the sort of the plot. Because for some reason, because of this massive earthquake and the country being horrified by this, they let the president, they changed the Constitution or whatever. I don't know much about America, how it works.
That sounds about right.
But they change it so now a president can be sworn in as a lifetime president, meaning that he's president until he.
Sounds like
Do you think
tyranny.
that do you think that Donald Trump saw these movies and was like, here's what I'm gonna do.
You can do this?
Okay,
I'm gonna escape from LA. And then I'm gonna kill my daughter.
I watched.
I'm gonna escape from NY, go
Yeah.
to LA.
I'm
Then
gonna
wanna
make an
escape
island
from
on a
LA, go to
beautiful
New York.
island.
I watched
I'm gonna send everybody I don't
documentary
like that. Yeah.
about Snake Plissken. I'm going to do the same thing the president does. I've changed
Also,
my.
we get to see what's her name? Is it Michelle Forbes? The same.
Yeah, from California.
Yeah. That's the. I don't think I've seen her in anything else other than these. When I
Star
saw
Trek.
her, I was like, oh,
Yeah, Star Trek.
California.
She's in so much Star Trek.
Oh, okay. Which
She's
one?
she's Lieutenant Rowe for a lot of episodes, and then I think she comes back as another
Unfortunately, I'm
character.
not a Trekkie.
Okay, then why the fuck did you ask me? Why would you ask the question?
I said I haven't seen her in anything other than this in California.
That's true. That's the
I know,
same.
then I
for
said
me.
Star Trek, and you said which one? I told you.
Well, I started to say which one, but then I was like, it doesn't matter.
It
I don't
doesn't
know.
matter.
Talking actors that stand out, I'm drawing a blank on her name, but the actor who plays Teslima. Every time,
Valerie Golino, maybe.
yes,
Yeah.
every time she's on screen, it feels like I'm watching a Hot Shot sequel.
Well, she's in. Yeah, she's in. That's where the only place I know her from when I looked her
Yeah.
up was Hot Shots.
Is that the woman that shows up at the beginning?
No, it's the
No.
girl who says this is
That-
the land of freedom and it's so free here.
And then-
I love it here, and then she
You
just
can
dies.
still wear a mink coat.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the beginning. I meant
Fur coat.
sorry, I meant the woman that was with him in the when she gets her boobs honked by Bruce Campbell
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah,
That Jason, what you said though, that sequencing or whatever is like, oh, this place is great when you know how to whatever, and then bam. Instantly.
yeah. I
It's
love-
kind of I kind of like that though, like how it's just like they're setting her up to be his companion for the movie, and then
Yeah.
she, as soon as she's like, "I'm your companion now," immediately gets fucking killed, and you're like, "Oh, good, yes."
I do like how instead of just like as a prison where there are criminals, like the previous film, in this one it's people that the reigning government just don't want in the country.
Yeah.
Well,
So yeah, so it's
That's the biggest thing about this movie that you sort of realize they don't overtly say it until the president kind of has monologues about it later in the movie, but what you realize is happening is they're trying to bring Christianity back, but to this like weird next level, where I think one of the things that he mentions that they don't do in this, there's no smoking or drugs or women, or, like
Yeah,
prostitutes,
unless you're married.
or red meat.
Yeah, what's wrong with
red
red meat? Although I guess like
it's against a lot of
really
religions,
bad
and it's
for you.
also the worst meat for your body.
It's the devil's meat.
The worst meat
It's very bad
Yeah.
for you. Yes,
Yeah, it is.
it stays in
is
it stays in your colon and gives you cancer.
It has a party,
Yeah,
a cancer party.
Parties
no. Well, ground beef's red meat, right?
That's correct.
Yes,
I
beef is
did that
all
straight up.
beef is red meat. Caleb.
If it comes from a cow, it's red meat. If
Yeah.
it comes from a chicken, it's white meat. If it comes from
What
a pig,
about a beef taco?
I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure. What about if it's a taco? What if it's in taco form? Like, yeah, still red meat.
Yo, it doesn't stay in my colon. I shit that shit out.
Yeah, we know. We were talking about it before you got here.
That's why
Yeah,
we
lots of questions.
I had some earlier today.
Okay. Oh, tacos?
Good.
No, I tried to make pasta and ground beef.
That's a delicious.
Tried to?
That's
Yeah.
What went wrong?
He used chicken by accident. It's like, oh, fuck, I fucked it up again.
Yo,
What?
did you know they make ground chicken?
They made ground all meats.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
They make ground pork
Turkey
and
they-
turkey. Ground turkey is
all
really
sorts.
good for you. In fact, if you get lean ground turkey, rails. Oh my god.
This shows how interesting Escape from LA is.
All right.
Let's just talk about red
No
meat.
more shouting out things that have nothing to do with it.
Okay. This movie had a lot of tricks.
Also, Psycrout used a thing that I set up in the Twitch chat for 1,500 baubles. We're not allowed to curse. There's no cursing, and I didn't really put
Us?
a timer on it. Yeah.
7 hours.
So
Just
Okay,
like
starting
Snake.
now.
for the next 15 minutes, no swearing.
Okay. So
All right.
this
Fuck,
movie
damn
had
it,
a lot
shit.
of tricks in it. And throughout the pod, I'm
10 minutes.
I'm gonna say them.
You're gonna
Okay.
what?
First
You're
trick,
gonna-
the good old scratch me with the virus trick.
Oh yeah, classic.
Yeah. That's in every movie. Fuck.
Every time.
Or is it? Or is it? Because the ending has 7 M. Night Shyamalan twists in a row.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I wrote down when they're like, well, that's the twist, Plissken. The virus is already in your blood, you fucking idiot. I was like, oh, man, they got him. And then the president's like, and I'll give you the cure later.
And I
And
was
then
also
I wrote
curious about, like, after he's been scratched, when they finally give him the Pip-Boy countdown,
Yeah.
they turn it on and it's already been counting down somehow.
Yeah,
Mm.
that happened
So,
in the
like,
first
someone-
movie.
Someone's
an
off to the
internal
side
chronometer.
waiting to press the button. Just like,
Go. Yeah.
That happened in the first movie because they turn it on and they're like, well, an hour's already elapsed, so you better get out there and get to it. And he's like, what are you talking about? I have 23 hours.
I just think I also like the idea that if they did make like a million more of these movies, that at the very beginning of every single one, they would have to somehow trick him into having some sort of like countdown event happening,
Can you
and it would
imagine
always be different every time. It would be always be stupid.
get some type of poison into him. They're like, gum?
Yeah, would you like some? Or they finally give him a cigarette,
Yeah.
and he's like smoking, and it's purple smoke coming out of his lungs.
Like, wait,
God damn it.
you'd never let me have a smoke. This is like the 6th time you've done this. Hey,
Yeah.
we're bringing smoking back just for you, Snaky boy. Okay, wait a second.
I got annoyed
I
when
remember,
Yeah.
when Ro is like, once you get the cure, or once you get the antidote, it immediately cures the virus from your system. And I wrote down, viruses are not curable. Stupid movie. This movie doesn't know anything about viruses.
You showed them.
I think my favorite thing I've ever seen in a movie is Snake just being on a warpath, and he goes, he gets down into the sewer hole, and he goes, so are you guys going to be administering the antidote? And they're like, no. And he's like, and they're like,
The old first clip is full of blanks.
yeah, the old like, well, we've had a feeling you were going to try something like that, so we filled your
Wait,
first
what
clip
other
with
movie
blanks.
has this in it? What is there another movie that has this in it?
No, well, kind of.
It's a bit that I'm doing for this episode.
It's a bit that Kaylin's doing, but
So you're doing cliches that aren't cliches, or what? What's
Yeah.
the okay?
I like it. But there is a movie that has this same technology in it. Did you guys see Die Hard 2?
Every movie with a gun.
No, like as a part of the plot in Die Hard 2, the bad guys have fucking fake
Blanks.
like movie guns. I can't remember why. I was had been imbibing when I watched it, but that part stuck out to me.
I just like when he's like, "We thought you'd try something like that. We thought you'd try something like that. We thought you'd like." They keep being like, "Yeah, you can't get us, motherfucker. We thought of everything.
Oh
we're,
yeah,
we're
'cause the
holograms."
holograms thing, and then
Yeah,
he just
and
uses-
that's a great
the old
point.
hologram trick.
The holograms worked perfectly.
Yeah.
So why not just do that again instead of filling
Right?
the clip full of blanks.
That's
because
what I was
as soon as you
thinking
tell him
too.
it's like, that's what we did, he's like, okay, thanks.
They wouldn't even have
clip,
needed
pop
to
in a new one.
Yeah, they wouldn't even needed to like alluded to it or engaged upon it. Just shoot at them and they don't die, and we as the audience would just assume that they are once again holograms.
Which would make sense because there's people beneath Snake waiting for him with guns on him. It's don't worry if you hear gunfire, blanks.
They're all blanks.
Like, what if they're not blanks? Like, just don't kill him anyway. I don't know.
There's such a margin for error there that they could have messed something up and actually just die in the first act accidentally.
Yeah.
Where's OSHA?
I thought it was so funny when he runs at them and he goes through them or whatever, and they're like, we thought you'd try something like that. We're holograms, Snake. Like he has to tell Snake, like Snake wouldn't fucking figure it out. What the hell, are you ghosts or something?
No, but they're just saying it because like they were just briefed on the technology themselves and like, I need to sound smart here.
Like, wait a minute,
we're holograms.
Are you telling me holograms exist? When? Since when?
Oh, you didn't know?
What? Caitlin, I can't hear you
years,
sometimes, man.
It's nearly 10 years later than this movie came out, and hologram technology.
15, I believe.
Yeah.
96. When was the first one? 81?
No, I mean when this movie takes place in 2013.
I heard this movie inspired the Tupac concert.
That's what I was going to say.
Could be.
That technology costs so much money to do it that there's an artist in Japan called Hatsune Miku who is the first and only Vocaloid performer and is a hologram. They used that technology to bring great stars who should not have come back as holograms. And they have in Japan, it's mostly a Japanese thing. In Japan, they have these like. Have you ever seen this technology where it's a fan? It looks like a fan and it spins.
Oh, it makes a picture
and it shoots the light in a way. But even that shit, they only use for advertising. So like, military grade holograms.
It's way better.
But we're not there in terms of.
No, we don't have it. They like the powers that be are like 10 times ahead of us. The shit that we have that we think is like, oh. They already had that. Like
that's their prototype.
That's true, and there is a kernel of truth that like most technology that we have commercially available has already been used by the military for some time. But I don't think we would have seen that hologram shit if it was used. I feel like.
Probably.
Just wait and see.
Maybe I'm a hologram.
Just wait and see.
You won't, because you'll think it's real.
That's true. Maybe I've seen holograms, aliens, lizard people, and I'm just too dense.
Guaranteed.
I don't want to believe, so I don't believe.
So I think once he gets, into the submarine and into the city, and he has his little,
Whoa, one sec. We do a little drive-by or a swim or a sub-by.
A sub-by.
It's fine. We get what you mean. Yeah.
We do a little sub by Universal Studios and then the Jaw Shark.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be. I think that's
not
supposed to be a real shark. It's supposed to be like the robot shark from Universal Studios that's somehow still active underwater.
And also moves
somehow
completely
looks worse.
freely. Yeah, it moves completely freely of its mechanical parts. I thought that CGI.
No, it just goes like this, like it just kind of goes like.
CGI Universal Studios looked so bad.
Yeah,
just
why?
like the rest of this movie.
Every CGI moment in this movie looks bad. Like it all.
Yo,
looks
was
bad.
the helicopter CGI or was that just some weird ass paint?
The
part of it was the rotor
propellers
blades.
the rotors
but
were.
what about the base though? Like, was that some like? Why did it look so weird?
Because it's not they just made a weird cubozoid fucking design that's like, this looks futuristic.
Was it the paint though? Like, was it like matte? Was it some sort of like
Yeah,
fucking?
it's definitely matte.
It was a lot. It was a combination of too many windows and weird angular desigin. It looked like something that
it wasn't
Musk
the angles
designed.
though. It was like the color of it, like
it was matte. It was bad. It was made of PVC pipe. Like the whole thing was shit. It was a shitty bad helicopter.
I think the worst CGI in this movie, and correct me if I'm wrong, if this was actually practical.
Don't say the surfing.
No, the surfing was bad green screen, but the bola that Quavaro throws at him when they're fighting on the backs of several cars, which was amazing. How bad it was. That bola that he throws when it's on Snake's neck, I thought that it was probably CGI and looked awful.
Yeah, it did look terrible. It's entirely possible.
I didn't even notice that.
When I talk CG versus green screen, though, the one thing that really turned me off this movie, it was at the very beginning when you see the tidal wave coming over Los Angeles. Yeah. That's not a tidal wave. That's not how tsunamis work. They just enlarged a wave breaking at the shore to make it look like it was a tsunami. It just drove me nuts. I knew exactly what I was in for the rest of it.
They were banking on people not knowing what tidal waves look like. Nobody fucking knows.
The world's going to shit. We know.
Yeah. We know now. Yeah.
Well, ironically, now everything is videotaped and put on the internet, and in this there is a sort of a slant where everything is recorded and put on the internet. The internet, but it's like they frame, since it's the future, they frame the internet as like this weird like Ready Player One virtual world, but they only show for like a second, and it just looks like a guy in front of a green screen.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like they could have just been like, the internet is crazy now. People are constantly uploading in the internet, and in 1996 it would have sounded futuristic.
Yeah.
But it's weird how predictions about the future are so wrong. And they've always been wrong, and they'll always be wrong. Even though it's so like, all technology is just an evolution of one thing or another. And
I heard that in 2025 they're going to replace all toilet paper with clamshells, and I was like, oh god.
Yeah, we're a couple years away. We're 3 shells. We're a couple years away from 3 shells. There's going to be they're going to sell 3 shells in,
it sounds a little more economically environmentally friendly.
Maybe.
Guys, trees are a renewable resource. We can plant more of them.
And
but they take a while.
But they're all,
you could just wash a shell. It takes like seconds.
They don't take that long. Like the amount that you need to make the toilet paper and the toilet paper being used and the time that it takes to grow it back, it's not like it's like it replenishes itself. If you're planting enough of them, they will replenish themselves for toilet paper.
You know what I say? I say we get rid of all the concrete jungles. Let's make the world au naturel, but let's keep the internet. Let's keep the virtual world. Let's make that our playground of all these crazy things that we want to imagine. AKA Ready Player One.
You're talking about the metaverse.
You sound like a psychopath sometimes.
What if there was no cities and only virtual reality?
Yeah. Like, what if we all just lived in a fucking field together on a commune, and then we just plugged into the internet every couple of hours?
I mean, I'd be down. If I'm being honest,
most people would be down.
Yeah,
our hellscape is already very Ready Player One adjacent and heading that way.
A couple of generations left.
Not to harp on the CGI forever, but during that opening sequence, I was really hung up on the glass breaking from the buildings. I was like, fuck.
Oh, that one building in the earthquake sequence that is just like, why would
it looks like something out of like a TV show from 2001 where they're trying to make a natural disaster happen, and they're just like, this is the best we can do.
And you know
sorry, we don't have Jurassic Park money.
That cost the second most money. That's why they hold on it for so long. They were like, we got to get our money's worth. We built this thing. It looks passable. It probably blew people's minds in 96.
For the time.
I think,
no, it did not.
Well, I think we're forgetting that we take CGI for granted, and bits of CGI we were like, that looks bad, but that's crazy. That's the future. Where now we look back, where we see bad CGI. We watched Avatar, and this thing had such good CGI that sometimes you don't know the difference. But there is one point where this this awesome looking CGI like an anemone like thing crushed a person, and the person who it crushed was the worst CGI I've seen in years. Do you remember that, Steve and Kaylin? Do you remember that part at all?
No,
anyway,
I don't.
It's crazy how things can stick out among other things.
Well, yeah, but there's no seamless CGI in this movie whatsoever.
Yeah, no, this is post Terminator 2. This is post Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
this is post Terminator 2.
Yeah.
This sucks.
I was. It's kind of, in a way, like heartbreaking to think about all of John Carpenter's filmography up to this point, and like even something as simple in Starman when it's zooming in on that hair follicle and it does all these crazy effects, and it's all practical stuff that they're just zooming in and using camera trickery and like very loose CGI effects, and they accomplish something that's like 20 times as impressive as like all of the CGI effects in this movie combined.
Well,
you know,
Yeah.
The thing about that too is I don't know who was in charge of hiring the effects team, but they hired the Buena Vista team that had never done CG before.
Yeah.
So what?
Terrible idea. Why? Well, I guess
Because you're just going to throw money at it because they don't know
Yeah.
what they're doing, so they're just spending and spending and spending, and this is what we get.
But not for
Yeah.
nothing. I've criticized John Carpenter's ability to make a single genre movie, and I know that I know, Ben, how you feel about Escape from New York and Halloween, right? Like, no,
Yeah.
like, joking aside, I just don't like Halloween, and that's okay.
It's fine.
But this movie, he got the fucking formula for an action movie and did it. Like, even though it's bad, even though it's like there's a lot of really dumb nonsense in it, from start to finish,
the beats.
the pace is an action movie. The action is superb, like for a dumb, over the top 80s style action
Popcorn
movie.
action, yeah.
If this movie came out in 1989, it would have blown people away. But since it was
Definitely.
96 and we had movies like Terminator 2 and Fifth Element on the horizon and Jurassic Park, like, it looks like a B movie.
if this movie came out in 1989, they would have figured out more creative and interesting ways to do the CGI effects that they did, and it wouldn't have
Exactly.
been terrible. They would have
Yeah.
found a way to not have him in a submarine if they couldn't do it, and they would have.
Yeah.
It would have been better.
A bobsled. Just get a bobsled. Get Exhibit
Yeah,
to
somebody
Pimpin'.
call
You love this
1989,
bobsled.
greenlight the movie, and get a fucking bobsled up in here.
You can tell this movie was written by 3 people.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I think that's where the action element comes from for you, Jason. And that's like, there's obvious elements of Carpenter in this movie, undeniably. But you can see Deborah Hill had some say on like slowing him down, pulling him back a bit. I think the over the top stuff came from Kurt Russell because he just
Yeah, okay.
loves
I heard he had a
action
hand
movies.
in. Yeah, I heard he had a hand in it.
Well, he's one of the
Yeah.
writers of the movie, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
He
one of
wrote the
3.
ending, I think.
Yeah, the
But
entire
it's,
ending.
as weird as this sounds to say, this movie's a lot tighter, even though it's so much more gonzo and random and
It's so loose, but it's tight.
yeah, like they move from one thing to the next in such a way that's like they don't dwell on anything too long. There's just too much. I guess there's too much stuff. But it's I like that better than in the first one where they just don't explain anything, but they spend all this time on like snakes sneaking around.
Yeah, there's
You
a
know
lot of
what's kind of
ideas.
funny? We're gonna criticize this movie for not being like the first one, and we criticize the first one for not being like this one.
Yeah.
I think that's funny.
I wish they made a third one that was a happy medium between the two.
Yeah.
Because I think the 3 of you really didn't like about Escape from New York was how there was such long drawing spaces between action points and plot points.
Its pacing
Like,
was all off for me.
The pacing was horrible, and here they tried to remedy that by not stopping at all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it suffered from that too.
So,
So,
I,
yeah.
I think, like, I
like-
get that it's like it's almost like a road trip movie in the sense that he's moving from set piece to set piece, with the ultimate goal of just getting one object, right? So it's like, you know what his goal is from the beginning. We all know he's going to achieve it, and it's like, what is the most interesting way to get him to that point? Let's, instead of coming up with one sort of cohesive long story, let's have him have weird encounters like over and over again. And it would have been maybe more interesting to take maybe 2 of those weird encounters and stretch them out into 2 larger segments that overlap with one another, rather than just it being like, all right, now he's in this area of LA. Now, like, it felt like the star map sort of analogy you could make is that he is like visiting the homes of the stars as he goes through LA. And it's like, have you been to this place? If you lived in LA, I'm sure you're probably like, oh, it's that place. Oh, it's this place. Oh, it's that place.
Beverly Hills, they all have really bad plastic surgery.
And like, you know, to bring it back to Bruce Campbell for a second, it's like that whole entire sequence is more interesting to me than the rest of the movie. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of this like weird cultist group of plastic surgeon addicts
Dual
that they're
zombie
just like
plastic surgery.
it's like a weird BioShock style, like
definitely
monstrous behavior of the rich who now live in this like weird secluded area of
Do you know
LA
what these-
that are not just addicted to plastic surgery but
The
required
prosthetics or
to
whatever
live.
look great though.
I did like the prosthetics.
Yeah.
These two movies. Last week I was saying how I thought it was going to be like the difference between Ninja Turtles 1 and Ninja Turtles 2, how they amp it up
and
so much.
it's kind of true.
That is, I think that holds some water. But do you know what? Really, this movie feels like such a 2.5 rebooty kind of thing, like Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. It almost reminds me of Crank 1 and Crank 2.
Did one of you say last week that this one was kind of, was it you, Ben, that this was kind of like a reboot?
It is kind of, yeah.
Because it's like the same story, but just upped.
Exactly.
Like up the ante.
Nothing for Crank 1 and Crank 2.
I never knew there was a Crank 2.
You've never seen Crank 2. It ends with a kaiju.
I've
battle.
seen both and
Crank
remember
1.
neither of them. I remember that he gets electrocuted a lot. That's all I remember about them.
And Crank 3, which is actually
Crank 3, Super Crank.
No, Crank 3 is actually Ghost Rider 2. Because it's written by it was written and directed by the brothers who made the Crank movies, so it's just Nick Cage yelling.
Yeah.
Does Crank 2 have a subtitle like High Voltage or something weird?
I think
believe
it's
so.
Crank and
That's
Crank
familiar,
High
yeah.
Voltage, yeah.
Is it actually High Voltage?
I
I was just saying that
That
because I
sounds
thought it would be
familiar. No, that
funny.
sounds
I'm pretty sure it
Or
is.
Octane
Something like
or
that.
something.
High Octane. That's like a like High Voltage adjacent type of title. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's High Voltage.
I
It
gotta
is
say,
High
Jason.
It's
Voltage.
called
I'm,
Crank High Voltage.
I
Dwight
gotta say,
Yoakam's
Jason,
in it.
not the most respected movie series in the history of movies.
Listen. Neither is this. I know it's.
I mean, I
respected
think
by-
more people love.
I remember
these
more
movies
about this.
than.
Fair enough. I liked the dumb Crank movies. I thought they were
Yeah.
dumb. And
You know what I remember about the Crank movie more than anything else is his
Jason
when
Statham.
he's passing out and his cell phone is going like. That's all.
There's a scene where like he's losing his heart power, so he's got to get his adrenaline up. So he takes his girlfriend to the racetrack, and they bang on the racetrack while the
Nice.
horses are going. So they're like in front of people. There's horses, and they're banging.
They get
so-
trampled?
No, they're no.
That's the end of the movie.
The credits.
No, I remember about those. Dwight Yoakam as a doctor and Corey Haim in the second one, and that's it.
Yeah, and,
Corey Haim?
I don't even remember who the actor is. Who's the main
Crank
actor?
two?
Lost
I don't
Boys.
remember who High Voltage is. Who is he?
Jason
Corey Haim
Statham.
is still alive?
Yeah, that was
Okay,
one of the
yeah.
last movies he did.
My
Oh,
brain
okay.
was doing a thing where I was like interjecting different actors like into different scenes that I remembered. I'm like, who was it again?
Glenn Howerton is also in it, and up to that point, it was the only other thing I'd ever seen him in, besides It's Always Sunny and that '80s show.
Cool.
He was in that 80s show?
Yeah, he was the like main
Oh,
character.
80s. I'm thinking 70s. I never watched. I think I saw like 1 or 2 episodes of the 80s. And I was like, no, this is trash.
It sucked, but
Yeah.
it's one season.
I'm
of-
checking out the 90s show though tomorrow. I'm checking that shit out.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
lie.
I think everyone's going to.
I've seen every
give it a shot.
episode. I've seen every episode of that '70s show, so I may as well.
Yeah.
You guys think they'll bring Hyde back?
No.
Okay, just kidding.
I think it's
Pretty
just,
sure
I think
he's
it's
in
just
jail.
Red and Kitty and the
Yeah.
grandkid. Maybe
Um,
you know what? Maybe some cameos, like one episode here and there. Maybe.
let's not talk about this. I don't want to talk about this.
All right. Well, it brings us to our next my segment of this episode, the old "don't draw until the can hits the ground" trick.
They went full
Right.
Western. Maybe I was
Yep.
wrong. Maybe they do kind of mix Western into this in a few places, and this is the
Well, yeah, the music that's playing a lot of the time is Western music. That's the same case for the first movie, but like they even when he goes to different areas have sort of different sort of Westerny type music playing. Like when he goes to the yeah, exactly.
the final countdown.
But this is like this. He is basically like a cowboy, right? Like that's what he.
Yeah, I
is.
realized during this that I was like, oh fuck,
Clint
Snake.
Eastwood.
Snake's less a spy and more a cowboy, like a
Yeah,
gunslinger.
He's a renegade. He's like he's the man with no name. Is his name
a
Snake?
rebel.
Probably not. His
He's the
name's
ultimate
probably not
warrior.
actually Snake.
So Jason, I think it was you mentioned earlier where he's like, call me Snake, like throughout, and then at the end, the name's Plissken, same as the first movie. And again, I'm like, why?
He
And
just
I'm like-
doesn't want to be called the thing
He's
that
a
people are
rebel.
calling
He's
him.
defiant. He doesn't want them to do what they want. so he's gonna tell them to do the opposite. That's how I looked at it.
As soon as he said
That's
the
what it
name
is. It's like if
Keach,
you that's exactly what it is.
I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna say that call me Plissken at the end of the movie after he fucking saves the day, and he reverse saves the day in this. He actually ends the world as they know it.
Yo,
We'll get
that
into
would
that.
save the day.
Well, the current world that they're in.
It's just an amped up version of the ending of the first one though, where he destroys the tape.
Yeah.
Which would have like
Except this time he destroys the
Thermonuclear
world.
war.
Destroys the world,
whole world. Welcome to the human race.
What a
What?
terrible line.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Then credits.
There were a
I was
couple
like,
bad one-liners. For sure.
I do want to talk about some positives if we can for just a moment.
You're gonna talk
Indulge
about
us,
New York.
Steve.
This movie is basically the remake of a good movie. No, I was gonna say, like, immediately I noticed when he gets into the city, it's nighttime, just like the first one.
Yeah.
But everything's well lit. It's all well lit.
I thought
you
you
can see
Steve.
everything. You can see everyone's faces. You can tell what's going on. It's not dark and gloomy, and I can't.
there's even an
tell what
orange
the fuck's
sky at
happening.
one point, which
Yeah.
you last week were saying that would be amazing if
Just a
one of the map
bit of-
paintings was just an orangey
that memory
sky.
video thing or whatever with Cuervo or whatever. That part.
No, like when they're, I think it's
It's the highway. It shows the highway,
Yeah.
and like you can see the cityscape, and there's a good. an
Oh
orange kind
yeah,
of-
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, highly populated environments, like right out of the gate.
I think
is
that
also
added
good.
to it. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a positive. Jesus Christ, calm down,
My
Keelan.
bad.
You don't need to
Sorry,
respond
yes.
to everything.
I'm the rambunctious one tonight.
these rambunctious boyos.
What I'm saying is, the populated areas, when he goes into the sort of like, it almost seems like a hotel, I guess, and he's like following the beacon to get to the guy that they sent in earlier or whatever, which is also a tropey thing in video games, which I love that it's in this. I was like, because a lot of this movie reminds me of a video game, and I think it would probably make a very wicked video game. to
So
be
I
honest.
didn't get to this last week, but there are no video games that have been made. There were, I think, there was.
Have you never heard of Metal Gear Solid?
No, I know, but there was almost an Escape from New York for the NES. But there are fan games. But the thing that blew my mind is there's a tabletop RPG based on Escape from New York, which seems like a good
Like D&D.
yeah, like
Yes,
it's
yeah.
like a board game but with D&D.
There was like a
properties.
weird stretch of time in like the mid 80s to the mid 90s where so many movies like this would get tabletop games, like full
Total
booklets
Recall.
and stuff.
Oh no, sorry. That's they got. I think it was Nintendo.
There was a Total Recall game.
I'm
for
talking about the
NES, but-
tabletop specific
Tabletop,
though, where
yeah.
they made.
Yeah, my bad.
I'm not talking about video games. Video games, they also had their little run where everything had a video game, but like there's even like what's it called, The Keep, that fucking that has a tabletop game, which is like such a random movie to have a tabletop game. But I didn't know that, so I'm kind of interested to pick it up. What I was thinking when I was
Can we
watching
play?
this,
Let's do
Yeah,
a
maybe.
live. Let's do a live.
yeah,
let's
I'll
play.
see if I can track down a copy of the Dungeon Master's Guide for the Escape, the LA series. But the Far Cry games, a Far Cry game set in this kind of world would be probably very good. Or like I was talking about BioShock, like that type of sort of like weird environments and shady individuals, and just like, because I do think that the world building in this one in particular is creative and fun, right? Like I was trying to say before, they take those ideas of like LA culture that everybody's familiar with and they pump it up to a caricaturized level where everyone's just fucked up. Like Bruce Campbell is like a madman, and then you've got just like the regular gang scene, and then you've got the surfer is like, he's not just a surfer, he surfs through like fissures in the earth because there's tidal waves that happen every couple of like hours or whatever. Like that, as dumb as it is and as poorly executed as it is in the movie, the idea of that to me is like amazing. It's so
Psychrode in the chat actually just said survival builder game like Conan Exiles or like Valheim or like Ark,
right, yeah,
which would
Where
be
you
cool.
gotta Rust.
Because that works a bit better for this world. But I also, you've just piqued
What's
my...
their name, Jason? What's the name?
Psychrode.
Hi, Psychrode.
You've really piqued my interest in a Ubisoft Far
Open
Cry
world
style game that takes place in New York or LA, and the weird characters, like you said, are the quest givers, and
Yeah, or the villains you have to defeat.
or the villains you have to defeat.
And to that point too, Jay. Sorry to cut you off right here, but look at what they did for Far Cry 3 with Blood Dragon.
Yep.
Draw that back a bit, get rid of that neon, make it dirtier. I mean, they can do that, and your ideas right there are absolutely fantastic. I would 100% play that.
The main character of that
Also,
is...
Ben, stuff your stories in a sack. You're gonna have to cut us off sometime.
It's true. But that game is you are sort of Reese from Terminator, but you are also sort of Snake. Like the heart of these kinds of movies are all mashed into Blood Dragon.
Yep.
So it stands for Psycho-Croatian. Psycroat.
I have a question.
Croche. Psycroche?
Psychroche.
Was Stacy Keach was his ponytail real?
Definitely
No.
not.
No way.
I think his hair was fake too.
There's no way.
he wasn't real.
No.
Yeah, he was being
hologram.
puppeteered. He was so drunk on whiskey.
He was the Ernest
He was-
Borgnine of this movie, where he didn't even know it was a movie. He thought it was a reality show he was
like-
on.
That was one of the pluses that Steve was talking about, the characters. The characters in this movie were much better than the previous.
Yeah.
They felt more developed.
Exactly. They also kind of seemed like bits and pieces were taken from characters of the other movie, because Map to the Stars Eddie was basically like Brain and Cabby put together.
Yeah.
Right.
And they actually, by doing that, kind of gave that one character a bigger purpose.
It blew my mind that I didn't know that Steve Buscemi was in it until I saw the opening credits, and I was like, Steve Buscemi's in this? And then he was a character that I think they could have made a I think Steve Buscemi could have played a Joker in a Batman movie at one point or another, or maybe a Riddler.
Ooh.
Yeah.
A different, not the Joker we all think of, but like a
His
different
take.
a different kind of Joker.
Yeah.
Or
And
one of
look
his
at his-
eyes is sideways.
Look at his character in Con Air.
Yeah. Well, in
Right.
that
Yo,
movie,
Con Air
he's,
is dope.
he's not a good person.
No.
In fact, he's a very bad person. I think he eats
Because
children.
they're con.
No. The kid's fine.
Uh...
But
no, it's not.
no, the whole point of him being in the movie was to fund a movie he wanted to direct himself.
Was it that
Which
one
is-
where he just like hangs out in a restaurant the whole time?
Trees Lounge, one of my favorites.
I like that movie.
I thought it was because they could only get the street cred to have "I Love LA" by Randy Newman play on his little device. They had to sign Buscemi to be able to get Randy to bend over, hand over the rights. I love LA. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off for that stupid joke. Yes. What's your question?
Cuervo Jones, who we haven't really talked about.
Yep.
Versus the Duke.
much better. I like the concept of the Duke.
Whoa! Let him finish the question.
Okay.
I kind of assumed you would all pick Cuervo Jones as being the better villain.
No.
He's a terrible character. And
I
honestly just don't care.
I think he's boring compared to all the other characters in the movie. I don't think
know
that he's
anything about the
interesting.
Duke, though.
That's why he's more interesting,
Yeah.
I think, at the end of the day.
And we were talking about it last time that the one great thing about the Duke is that they give you just enough information about him that makes you want to know more about how he ended up running New York.
Right.
Here they tell you straight up what Cuervo Jones is doing. And you're like, well, that's just completely stupid. So
Yeah.
I don't
I mean,
care.
it wouldn't even have been that bad if they told us everything that he was doing if the character himself had a little bit more going on. In terms of like personality, because he was basically just sort of like a stereotype, right? They're like, let's just throw this guy in, give him a beret, and everybody will know what we're dealing with here. And he's like biting the Duke's moves, making people fight each other to the death. But then,
How do you guys think you get 10 points in?
In that game, fuck no, I'd die. It's a full court.
I got winded watching it.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to do it. And I was out of breath.
So I'll tell you guys, that was a moment where I was so sure this movie, me and Steve were talking about this earlier, where like we were both trying to work and watch it. And weirdly enough, it's such a dumb movie that you expect it to be like, you just put it on in the background and glance over at it. You miss things if you don't pay attention to the whole thing, which is crazy to me, because Escape from New York, you could...
Jason, please watch every movie that we do.
I watch every movie, okay? I watch every movie.
It's on in the room.
Listen.
It's there.
Listen.
Happening.
I watch every movie. I pause it if I don't know what's going on and rewind and rewatch bits.
Okay.
This one specifically, though, I was writing an email, and I was listening to like this basketball part. You would think it would just be like, he has to score fucking whatever. I thought it was
10 points.
10 points, 5 2-pointers in 1 minute. I thought was what was happening. And
exactly.
And then I heard him say, you have to score 10 points in 10 seconds. And I was like, that's impossible. That's too much. I rewound it. Turns out, every time you hit a
shot
basket,
clock.
the shot clock restarts to 10 seconds. Then I was like, oh, that's fucking actually interesting. That's an interesting moment. It's like doing suicides on the court, like a basketball drill.
Yeah.
But is it interesting though?
Well,
I think I would have rather watched him fight the guy with the giant
96,
scissors.
Personally,
basketball's probably at its height. Well, no,
it's definitely
the reason it's in the movie is because John Carpenter fucking loves basketball, and he always has loved basketball. That's why
also
it's
Los
in the movie.
Angeles, and Los Angeles is a basketball city. On top of that,
and also a surf town. Oh, actually, that was a funny. I thought it was a funny little joke when he first gets to LA and like, yo, stay off our beach, bro, or whatever. It reminded me of like Venice, how like they were very territorial for people from Venice versus people
Beach.
coming there to surf.
Yeah.
You had your own part of the coastline.
Yeah.
That's definitely a real thing. It's like skateboarding is like that too, especially in the 90s. That's good insight. But honestly, when I figured out that was the game he had to play, I rewound the whole thing and watched that sequence, because I heard him go, oh, he's getting tired now, and I was like, what the fuck? He has to score fucking 10 baskets in 1 minute. Like, that's not hard.
I was having the same problem. I had to do like a large painting for work today, so I was like, I'm going to watch this while I'm doing this, and there's too much happening that I was like, I'll finish the painting and then I'll go watch the movie properly, because there's a little bit too much wacky shit happening for me to be able to like eyeball it from the side of the canvas.
One thing you can definitely say about this movie is that it is incredibly entertaining.
Yeah,
stupid.
It's a popcorn movie
for sure. Exactly. It is a popcorn film. I don't think it's a good film.
I think that Ben, you keep calling it a film, and it's really getting to me, because
it is a movie. It is a movie. I take that back.
It was shot on film.
Last week I explained my little thing. I'm not going to go over it again because Steve hates it, no matter which version of Steve shows up. But I do think that this one,
I don't know what you're talking about.
He doesn't know what I'm talking about. I think this movie is more movie than any movie. There are action movies that I would consider films over that. Like Terminator 1, I would consider that a film versus this being 100% a movie.
It is definitely the moviest movie that ever moved.
It's 1996.
I'm pretty sure I can find
summer.
another movie that movie more movie.
Independence Day?
Avatar 1?
Nah.
No.
Avatar 1.
I have a question for you guys. Do you think that it is rude that in the plastic surgery church, or whatever we want to call it, that there was all these people with like gross faces, and then like
I can't see your face.
My face?
Yeah, there you go.
A bunch of people that were gross and weird and had like fake faces, like Bruce Campbell and his nurses and stuff, and then all like the people who were melting, and then all the minions who also, some of them had like plastic surgery done to them. But then there was also people that were mixed in who were just like a little bit weird looking, but it was just their normal faces.
Like the landlord from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was there, and he was the guy.
Is that who that guy was?
Yeah.
But they clearly put him in there because he just looks kind of weird.
He just looks like a weirdo.
That's called exploitation.
Yeah, it's rude, right? I felt bad.
The part about that
Yeah.
scene that got to me the most was so an eyeball is the ball. It's separate from the rest of your face. But he holds up that platter of like eyes, and
Yeah.
it has this part around the eye as well. And I was
You
going
don't need
like,
that.
It looks really dumb.
it looks dumb, and it's also like has nobody ever like gone to grade primary biology class?
Has no one ever just ripped out
They
an
didn't
eyeball and
teach-
put it on
Yeah.
a platter?
Ain't you ever seen an eyeball
Ain't you
before?
ever
Not
seen an
inside
eyeball
the
before?
skull? Come on.
Yo, go get a
Al-
grape, peel the skin off of it.
Also,
Maybe
what was he
put a
gonna
little
cut the
paint on it.
eye out with? It was like a pizza cutter. Like,
That
what
weird
Yeah.
pizza cutter thing. Yeah.
was that
That's
about?
why they were actually flat on one side, Chase.
Oh, because he was
cut
just
the
the
pizza cutter. Yeah.
You could do that. I guess you could technically do that to an eye, but
I honestly, I feel like I could talk about this.
No, I don't think you could. They're not attached. This
For
is
the whole
like I could pull my
podcast.
eye out right now.
don't
And
do
you
that.
have to go through the orbital socket, which
Yeah.
doesn't work with the pizza cutter.
Yeah, exactly.
But
No,
but
it's
the way that I
bones.
interpret it was they cut across, and you just got the top of the eyeball.
The lens.
Anyway, it's a science fiction
Ah.
movie. They
That's
did
not going
science
to work
fiction.
if you try to plastic surgeon
Yeah,
that on
what
someone.
That
what
was
probably
the biggest
happened
part
is that
about
they
it.
probably drew some really cool looking storyboards,
Yeah.
and then the people who were making the props like took it way
We're
too
like,
seriously.
I guess we'll do that. That's weird. That
Yeah.
John
Just go to the dollar
Carpenter.
store.
That John Carpenter is always changing it up. Changing up science.
You know, not to
Can I give a shout out to Steve Buscemi's match
giant eyeballs.
His reaction to Snake surfing up on him was one great.
Oh, the double take
Yeah.
where he's like,
Yeah. Two, it
Holy
reminds me of. Did you guys feel Sin City at all? It reminded me of
yes,
Sin
yeah.
City.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say that too, actually,
Yeah.
because in Sin City, this green screen is deliberately meant to look fake, right? Like,
Yeah.
everything
Yeah,
is
yeah.
supposed to be heightened and
Like, it looks like a
maximalist
comic
and
book
like,
panel.
yeah, it's supposed to look
exactly.
it's supposed to
Yeah.
look cartoony. And
Yeah.
then in this, it happens, and you're like, "Oh, this looks like Sin City," but it's really not supposed to.
Completely unintentional.
They
Yeah,
thought that they were gonna like make $1 billion off of this
Yeah.
thing, and it
And
looks.
Robert Rodriguez was in the movie theater as a kid, being like, "This is sick."
Wait a second. Also, shout out to Robert Rodriguez. Yo, if you ever see this, what's up?
What's up?
Stop shouting out to people already. They're not watching us.
They might.
Yeah, maybe one day. Shout out to Robert Rodriguez.
Shout out to Victoria Silstead, Playmate of the Year.
Do you guys think that maybe
That's a
Plissken should get
basketball
rid of those scopes on his guns because he never fucking uses them, but they're just there for some reason?
However, he
They
does
are laser.
finally he gets the sniper rifle from Cuervo and does look down the sight of it, and it's established that it is a sniper rifle. So,
But I'm talking about his
Those aren't
pistols.
his
have-
guns, though.
oh
he
yeah,
has he has giant
That he never
scopes
uses it.
on both guns, and he never looks down the scope at any point.
he likes to
that I
fire
can
from the
recall.
hip. I can
I
respect
know.
that.
So what do you need the scopes for?
I play a lot of shooting games where I put this.
Do you think one eye would help you with aiming?
Yes, I put the scope on the gun to make the overall aiming better, and I think that's his. You don't actually look down the
He's
scope.
playing life like
The
a video
statistic,
game.
the statistic of the gun, the aiming goes up.
The
You don't
stats.
actually have to look down. Actually, looking down the sights makes it worse. So
Jason, if this is teaching me anything, is that if an apocalypse actually happens, you're gonna die so fast.
So
fine.
very fast.
no,
You're gonna have a
because-
backpack like almost to the point of over incumbents.
Yeah, I
It's
gotta
just
bring my
full of
PlayStation.
everything he doesn't need.
Yeah. Hey, you guys want to play with
Oh my
action
God.
figures?
You got like you got a collection of bobbleheads because you think they bring you luck
'Cause
and
they-
increase your charisma or whatever.
Unpacking food to cram in a PlayStation controller.
Guys, look at all these bottle caps I have.
Why do we
wanna
need these
barter?
matches?
Yo, you guys want to play Pog? You guys wanna
One
slam
thing
some
that
players?
when they do capture Snake, and like chain him up at first,
The
right?
old fucking just 1 second. The old booby trap glove compartment trick.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Steve Buscemi's like, pretty neat, huh? Pretty neat. There is one shot where it's Quavo and he's making his like address to the world. Is it the world? Is he addressing the world?
Well, at least the United States. But
Yeah.
oh no,
He's
actually
a-
no. I think they said it's broadcasting on all channels. I think.
So the world, I guess.
He's doing the
Yeah.
supervillain thing regardless.
Yeah, but when Hold Your Brown or whatever. What's the guy's name again? The actor? Hold Your Brown. The guy who's like, you want your guns or in the
Stacy Keach?
yes, I can't
Culture
remember his
Brown?
name. Yeah, he was in
Brown?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He plays an old detective, and he's like, "You need to learn to hold your ground, boy." When he's like talking about drinking
Like
whiskey.
poop?
No,
Oh,
whiskey
hold
drinking.
your ground.
Hold your ground.
Hold your brown.
Yeah. That's probably like a body weight thing. If you have more body weight, you could hold more brown.
Absolutely. Get fat, become a whiskey drunk.
Yeah. But the shot
Story as old as
of
the
him,
old whiskey drunk trick.
the shot of him.
I'm not that
addressing
heavy. You can't see my glass. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, we know it's full of vodka and orange juice or whatever the fuck.
Metamucil.
We didn't need to see it to know that. So there's like a shot of like him addressing the world or whatever with all of his minions behind him, and then Snake Plissken is on a treadmill in the background.
Yeah, the
just Kurt
treadmill
Russell
as
like,
a torture
walking.
device trick.
And it's part of the plot because that's like Stacy Keach is like, wait a minute,
There
that's
he is.
Snake, he's alive.
That's
Like this is
something
right
that just
before.
I noticed that they do that a couple times in this movie, and I was like, this fucking guy, like they keep being like, he's dead. He's dead. There's no way he's
He
dead.
fucking
It's like,
died,
no,
yeah.
he's alive. I know. This
Snake
is
Plissken's
Plissken
been dead
we're
more
talking
times
about.
than I can.
There he is right
count.
now.
My ex-wife.
Barely jog
Or
on
whatever.
that treadmill.
Anyway, I just wanted to comment on how
cutting off
funny-
my hair.
I just
It's
wanted to.
either like I have a small head or a bald head.
I just wanted to comment on how funny the framing of that shot was.
It was
Where he's off
really
in the
funny.
corner.
He's just off to the side. Just
Yeah,
on the
it's
treadmill.
funny. Like when I saw it, I was just like, "This is so stupid and hilarious." Like the way they framed him, like way in the background on a treadmill, and the like they forgot that he was there or something, or they wanted them to know that he was there. Like it's like, why did they choose that position where he's just marching on the treadmill in the background? It's so funny.
I actually missed it the first time I watched it because I watched it.
It's part of the plot. Stacy Keach
But
says,
for
"Wait a
today-
minute,
for
that's
today's
Snake."
episode, for today's episode, I watched it on Monday, and they like when that scene happened, I'm watching Corvo or whatever, and then they say, "Oh, there's Snake." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then I watched it again this morning to like refresh a little bit. I'm like, "Oh, there he is right there in the back in the little corner."
Yeah.
It was weird frame. What I'm trying to
Was it
I'm trying to agree with
was
your-
it when Stacy Keach was like, "There's Snake in the background. He's alive."
Yeah, exactly.
Is that
Yeah.
when you noticed? Okay. I looked into the stadium they were in because I was like, did they just convert a football stadium into 2 basketball courts for this
I think
movie?
there's only one court.
Oh, right. One's a basketball court and the other one's a guy cutting people's heads off with a giant pair of scissors. I
What's
forgot
just
about
some
that.
scissor plates?
Even though he lost and got shot up, that was the same guy, right? The guy got shot up, and then the guy came and cut his head off. That was the same guy, right?
No, those were 2 different people. There was 2 events happening at the same
Kaylin,
time.
no. Like Steve's right, but I did have that same moment where I was like, "How is he still alive after like 9 people open fire on him? And then what's the point of that? And then cutting his head off? Like that's a little much."
Yeah.
It was 2 different
I know.
That's
I know.
a
It
little
was.
much.
A little much.
Because like the guy who gets shot is completely surrounded by gunmen.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
means they're
360.
shooting at each other.
Yeah, the bullets
Yeah, that's
would hit
true.
all the other people. Yeah,
That's true.
it's crazy.
Ooh.
It's not just
If it
one
was a Mel-
side. It's
If it
just
was
like
a Mel Brooks movie, all of the shooters would have fallen after that,
Yeah.
right?
And the guy
Yeah.
would have been fine.
And the guy
because
would
they
have
all
been
missed
like,
him.
"Oh." That's how I'm watching Andor,
and
that's
then
how
Mel
you know
Brooks would
it's-
have been the guy in charge, going, "Ooh,
I'm watching Andor.
maybe we just put them on one side next time."
I'm watching Andor right now, and it doesn't feel like you're watching Star Wars, but those like cops are so bad at shooting that I'm like, oh yeah, this is Star Wars.
Right. Which was explained recently in another Star Wars show where they're like, no, it's like the mass-produced guns have terrible sights on them. That's why everybody's terrible at shooting. It's not them, it's their weaponry. Yes, Kaylin, what are you going to yell about this time?
The old
Was Escape from New York roughly around an hour and a half?
I don't know. Yeah, it's sure.
Roughly around an hour and a half. It took 2.5 hours to say the movie title from Escape from New York. 57 minutes and 57 seconds. Movie title shout out, Escape from New York. If anyone
All right.
got that.
Wait,
Not
wait,
me.
Wait. Are you saying that
They do the movie title shout out for the last movie in this
one.
movie.
Okay, cool.
And then just to add on to that a little bit, there's kind of a movie title shout out for this movie in the end credits during the end credits. It's not Escape from LA, but I think it's Escape LA, I think.
Okay.
No, it was I Love LA.
Yeah, I was
going to
say, yeah.
No.
Escape LA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm sure he would have came back and done like a version if they gave him enough money. So yeah,
what I was in my boot.
What I was gonna say was that I looked up the because in the background it said the LA Memorial Coliseum, so I looked up the LA Memorial Coliseum to be like, did they just like make these basketball courts? But apparently, the Memorial Coliseum is a versatile arena that they can just like basically put in temporary courts or fields for whatever sport they want.
But that's how sports work.
Cool.
That's how like basketball courts. That's how that shit works. They just bring in the floors and whatever.
I know, not all of them though. Some of them are dedicated football stadiums. Some of them are baseball diamonds, and
a football stadium having that versatility is different.
No, but you put a thing over the field.
Absolutely.
And then
yeah. But do they have the stuff on hand to do it? Is the question. It's more likely you'll see a like a hockey rink be converted for like a basketball tournament or
right.
I was looking it up more for comedy because I wanted to be like, why didn't they just go to a basketball court?
Let's talk about this
because it's underwater. It got sunk or whatever.
Yeah. Another funny moment that I liked is when he takes the car and they drive down the alley and there's like a bum who's like heating his hands on a big pile of shit that he's burning in the middle of the alley. And they just drive right over it, and the bum's like, but then there's like 15 flaming barrels around him that he could have been warming his hands on. Like he, for some reason, decided to make a separate fire out of all the other barrels of fire around him.
Yeah,
which was...
I got
a shrug moment and shuffle towards another one.
All right, gotta go to my backup barrel, I suppose.
For Pam Grier's character, Hershey. Did they edit her voice, or did they have? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Have you ever heard her speak before? That's not what she sounds like.
Well, I was gonna say no, but like I mean, like the inflection and everything kind of sounded like her, but with editing. But then I wasn't sure if they just muted her and had someone dub it.
No, yeah, it's her, but they modified it in post to deepen her voice, which I thought was kind of stupid, but there's a lot of stupid shit in this movie, but I thought it was stupid for a more specific reason. Because, you know, we live in a time now where like trans representation in film has either become like a film studios patting themselves on the back for doing it, or people doing it as a joke, or it just being integrated seamlessly. And I watched a movie recently called Wendell and Wild where they integrate a trans character so seamlessly that I bet a transphobe would watch that movie and not even realize that a character is trans, kind of thing, unless you're like picking up on context clues or really paying attention. I actually was surprised at how much Pam Grier's character was not a punchline. Yeah. It was more she existed, and she basically is telling Snake over and over, like, don't fucking call me that anymore. My name's Hershey. Which is like, you know, that's kind of the general attitude now of like a trans person. If you call them by their incorrect name, they're going to be upset with you. And if you refuse to call them by their chosen name, then they're going to be upset. But it was like, you know, you would expect this to be played off as something like, oh, wait a minute, you used to be a and now you're a go, fuck.
And
I heard like, she put a sock in her pants to prep for the role.
Yeah, I heard that too.
And they do almost go into that territory that we don't like when he reaches up.
Well, the voice does that.
Yeah. The voice does, but he reaches up the dress and pulls out a gun, and you.
But exactly. First, you're like, oh, he's going to see if he has it, like a penis, or her, or them, or whatever.
That's the joke, and like, but it's not really a super offensive.
But it's
joke.
not an offensive joke, and that's what's important.
Yeah.
I thought that was well done, and I wasn't focused on the trans element of it because they did it so well. I was more focused on what I realized is I think that the exploits of Snake Plissken would work well as like an animated series where they just all the things they talk about in the two movies where they reference other like the bank heist that's cut from the movie, him and Brain, the shit that they did together, the shit
Siberia.
that like all of that stuff would be cool as like a little like Netflix, maybe even Adult Swim 10-minute episodes format would be cool.
They already have the stories written from the comic books, right?
Oh, there's comics.
Yeah, there are comics that cover the.
Yo, do you own any of them?
I don't actually.
I have a question. What's a blueback? It's like $5.
It's probably valid money, whereas greenbacks are no longer valid money.
Oh, so like
Future
kind of
money.
like U.S. money has lost its
It's worth nothing.
dominancy or whatever.
Yeah, like credits. The way that they talk about credits in sci-fi. The credits are the new money.
Yeah.
Rations in Star Trek.
The public credits are no good here.
Bitcoin. Yo, can I get a piece of pizza? I'll give you all my Bitcoin.
Don't do that. That's so much money.
Well, now it is.
Do not pay.
But yeah, that I would like to see what a blueback looks like.
Yeah.
Is it just blue?
Whose face
like a
is on
blue
it?
dollar bill?
Whose face you guys think's on it?
President Ben Parker.
Yeah.
Buzz Lightyear.
Good call. President Ben
It's all
Parker.
fictional heroes, like John Wayne's character from Genghis Khan.
The Rock. Wait, the gang is.
No.
Wow.
That's too. No. 96. Okay. Who's big in 96?
Oh.
Harrison Ford.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah. Val
I
Kilmer.
can see Tommy Lee Jones on a blue back.
Val Kilmer.
Sean Connery.
Tom Hanks. Kirstie Alley.
No.
No, this movie's way too sexist to have women on money.
Also, she sucked.
Are there any women on any American money? I don't know that this is a thing.
I have a $10 bill that has.
Yeah, because you live in.
I said
Canada.
American money. American money.
Did you say American money? No,
I
Americans
did.
don't like women. They wouldn't even vote Hillary.
True.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true,
That's
Kaylin.
true.
Right about
I know
that. They wouldn't even
Sometimes
do
I
it.
say true things. Sometimes.
They preferred an orange man, an orange doofus.
Yep.
You know, I
Okay.
think that
Okay.
I've changed my Trump to sound even more frittata, so that's why I'm doing it like that.
I see.
Eric, how did you
That was a good edit point.
like, that's where
I can edit the
break
whole
happens.
episode up to that point out, and
Where
then
everyone's like gasping for air, like what the fuck. So they cut a deal with Pam Grier and the boys.
Where's she?
All the stuntmen from Big Trouble in Little China are there. Like so many of them you'll recognize from that movie.
Al
Yeah,
Leong.
yeah.
Al Leong, who's in every movie, it seems.
Yeah, is that the guy with like the long hair and like the bald on top? Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
We-
in so
we've
much
talked
stuff.
about him on the show before, Steve, because you've mentioned that you always notice that dude in like
Because he's so noticeable. Like he's got such a distinct and
He
specific
has
look.
one of
that-
these.
Well, he has
Face?
a bald top of his head with super long hair and like crazy goat. Like he's a very noticeable person.
I'm
He has a
months
very
away from
distinct
that
look.
look, so
Months. Give yourself more credit than that.
1 year.
Are you
And
also
then
using
he's-
an accomplished martial artist
Getting into the pictures.
Yes.
and torturer? Doesn't he torture somebody in Lethal Weapon? Isn't that him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is that guy.
Yeah.
God, what a good movie. I wish I watched Lethal Weapon today instead.
Yep. Yeah.
Jason's now like, I have decided I hate this movie.
No, dude, like I like this movie, but in like a hyper millennial ironic dumb
Yeah, I also got a lot
Okay.
of this movie conflicted and confused with Omega Man in my head.
What the fuck is
How
that?
dare you?
Well, just
Omega Man's wonderful.
I know, but just visually, like
Yeah.
because
What's
you know, like
Omega Man? What is
the
it?
hoods and stuff, right?
It's that episode of Treehorse of Horror where Homer goes into the claymation world, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, Jason.
That's
We will
I
allow
feel
you
like
to
Homega.
he's
believe
being
this.
sarcastic.
No, it's
Crazy.
Homega Man, and I.
But also,
do you
that's the
know-
wrong treehouse.
Is that the
episode.
wrong tree? Okay.
Yeah.
Kaylin, do you know I Am Legend?
Oh yeah, no. Omega
Yeah.
Man is the I Am
Yeah.
Legend.
It's
movie.
the second film version of I Am Legend. The first
Right.
one we actually covered on BS Bargain Bin. It was The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price.
Right.
Then they remade it as the Omega Man, and then there was another one, I Am Omega, and then I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Yeah.
And it
And
gets
then
worse and worse.
there's a new one coming out called I am Lego Man.
Yeah.
Yo, the Lego movies were great. What are you
Okay.
talking about?
There's one Lego movie.
I didn't say anything
there's
about
two
the Lego
movies
movies,
now.
Kaylin.
And Lego
You
Batman.
chill
is
the
technically
fuck out.
canon.
I am Lego Man in a facetious way.
I was making a joke on the words. The words Omega and Lego and Legend combined sounded like
Hey,
Lego Man.
Lego my
I would
ego.
watch that though.
I am Lego Man.
Hey, did you guys put butter on your Egos?
Yes.
I never knew about that until I hung out with my Mississauga family friends. I'm like, yo, put some butter on that and then put the syrup. It's so much
Right.
softer and delicious.
Respectfully, Kaylin, stop this now. Stop this. Stop this.
I almost
Okay.
kept it going. So thank you for
I am
interjecting.
Ego Man. Omega Man. So yeah, we're kind of we've gone through most of the plot. Like, there's not too much to cover. There's a few parts we kind of leapt over. Steve Buscemi's betrayal of everybody. He just keeps betraying everybody.
I'm playing both sides, so no matter who wins, I come out on top. He's Max.
Well, he's
from
playing-
that
he's
one
playing
Give a
episode.
little bit of an applause to Steve Buscemi. Just a
Yeah,
little
he's
bit.
great.
Yeah.
He's playing his own side. That's his side, is that he's going to win and he just doesn't want to die. So whoever has a gun pointed at him is his friend in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I kind of wish that he got out, but also the fact that he didn't get out sort of left that door open if they ever did make a third one, that he could come back in some
Yo,
capacity.
escape Earth.
As,
Ghost to Mars. Or wait, yeah, Ghost to Mars.
he could come back as like either the
Is he
same
in
sort of
Ghost of Mars?
character, or he could be a new warlord. Imagine Steve Buscemi
Yeah.
is like some crazy warlord. That'd be great.
Like a frantic, doesn't know, like he was like, it was just like dropped in his lap. It was like, oh,
Or he's like connected to a supercomputer, like they somehow harvested computer technology and like made it. they brought him back to life, and he's like some skeleton robot man. Like, hey, it's me, guys. Who want some maps to the stars?
you know
He
what I
already
heard of
looks
someone
like,
doing?
though.
Yeah.
He was playing chess against someone, but at the same time, he was also playing chess against a computer, and then he was making his moves, what the computer was making their moves.
That sounds like cheating.
Yeah.
It is
I
cheating,
think that's
but also
Where did this come
diabolical.
from?
Yeah, what the fuck
But
are you
also
talking about?
diabolical. Yeah.
Oh,
Before I forget, I just want to mention the fact that another funny thing that his lady companion does right when he meets her, she's like, "Why don't you come and stay with me overnight? Why don't you? I've got a place we
I
can
just
stay."
broke up with my boyfriend.
I just broke up with my boyfriend.
me and my boyfriend, we just broke up. And by that I mean he
said
got
out-
eaten by some crazy gang of teenagers who are cannibals now.
I said out loud at the screen, "Bro, he considers it. You see in his face that he considers it."
You can see it in his eye.
And I say out loud, "Bro, you got 6 hours, dude." Because
Jason,
I thought they were gonna do a sexy scene.
No, he gives her a gun and gets the fuck
No,
out.
he's like,
'cause
"Here's this
he's
gun.
not an idiot.
Bye."
Yeah.
yeah, they totally they don't do any kind of gratuitous acts.
There's no gore in this movie. There's no.
There's
No.
some shoot ups.
There's not a lot of swearing either. I think this is a PG-13, right?
It's
It must
pretty
be.
sanitized.
Yeah. It's not
Jason,
the
sidebar. Can I write my own review to oppose your Avatar review on our page?
Yes,
Thank you.
that's a for later conversation. Just FYI.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the regular bar.
Okay, I got another one. The old toxin is just the regular flu trick.
Right. We're not quite there yet, but yeah, okay. We'll skip through the end. It's a kind of a boring ass fight, right?
No,
That-
you're right.
that
We're
last
not
part.
there yet. Batman
What do you mean?
Batman Forever, the fire retardant awesomeness.
We're still at Pam Grier.
Okay.
We didn't really get.
Okay, my bad. Go ahead.
She agrees to help them and take down Quato or whatever the fuck his name is.
Cuervo. Yo, Total Recall. Save that for the next month.
Quaid. Snake.
Your mind.
So I really wish they dropped that voice, to be honest. Like, it's fine
terrible.
in the first couple of moments, like we get it. Like, she used to be a man, okay. But just Pam Grier is such an amazing actor, and like she's one of the hottest people who ever lived on planet Earth. And it's like it feels
hotter than
not...
Ava Adams.
Kaylin, I said one of. I didn't say the. Stop.
And
Stop
also,
this nonsense.
That's a different category.
Also, like you see Pam Grier on screen, and you just want her to be in the movie more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I felt like
she got downplayed.
Wasted.
Which is an unfortunate fact of the movie we're going to be talking about next week as well. Like, she kind of gets underutilized in that as well.
She's in Ghosts?
She's in Ghosts of Mars as well, yeah.
I didn't know that. Is she Hershey?
No, she does not return as Hershey in Mars.
On Mars.
She returns as Mars Bar.
That's an underrated joke. That was pretty fucking funny.
But you're right. Like, you do want her to be in it more. You wish she was there from the start. It would have been cool if he ran into her gang or something like early on, and she got a little bit more hyped up rather than it just being like the surf guy saying like, "You gotta go check out Hershey. Now let's hang 10, brother," or whatever. And, like, Kaylin, what do you want to say?
I want to make sure I'm saying this respectfully.
God, he's gonna say something offensive. Mute him.
When you preface it like that. But for real though. If you are transitioning, does your voice also change?
Eventually,
and there's also training you can do to what they would say is like feminize your voice.
Okay.
So you can do voice training to make your voice higher, and it becomes more natural to speak that way. Whereas,
or the other way, when you take testosterone, your voice naturally, the octave of your voice will naturally.
Does it actually affect the physical aspects or whatever?
It does, but again, it also requires literal voice training that you can do exercises to change the way you sound.
I mean, we all said, like, in all honesty, the way we talk is kind of voice trained, because
I have lots of different voices that I can do, and I could probably sustain those voices, and the longer I sustain those voices, the more it becomes a natural voice.
Right.
Yeah. Like, this is my natural speaking voice like this.
No, but
I can also speak like this. Hello, boo, 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 piss on yourself.
Even your natural voice is a trained voice, because that is based off of, I think it's fair to say, a bit of the upbringing. You know what I mean? Like I can like accents, whatever, blah blah blah, where you live, the.
All right, yes, we understand. We get it. Yeah, we know what you're trying to say.
Okay.
Regionally, dialects, accents, the way you speak, the pitch and tone of your voice. Yeah. All of that stuff is determined by your environment and how you interact with it. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Just like that. So if you're training your voice to sound more feminine, you will eventually sound more feminine. But also taking testosterone or estrogen will help in like moving the muscles into that direction.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's a great thing to talk about during an escape from LA conversation. I can't remember what I was talking about now.
I think trans people should have the same rights as non-trans people.
Pam Grier, yes, she should be. She is very good.
And underutilized. She was underutilized totally. Like what, 5 minutes or something?
She was in the movie for like 12 minutes total, max. Yeah. And like she wasn't really doing much. She was just there to be a face, like a known face that was like super popular in the 70s and 80s. And she had kind of started to like fall out, right? And like she had disappeared. and Tarantino brought her back for.
Yo, Jackie Brown is awesome.
Yes, I was about to say Jackie Brown. And John Carpenter, I believe they met in a strange circumstance, and he decided to like put her in a couple of movies. And I guarantee you, because Ghost of Mars really sucked hard, and then his movie after that also kind of
we're doing it next week.
His other movie kind of blew chunks as well. And I feel like if he had continued going and he had the passion and the spark, like him and Pam Grier probably would have worked together for years in the way that he and Kurt Russell did.
Is John
unfortunate.
Carpenter's pseudonym Wes Craven?
What?
They're two different people. What do you mean?
Those are two different people.
Was that a joke only you get? Because there's some context that you are missing. We can't hear the inside of your mind. That's the problem with you making a joke like that.
Ah, damn it! All right, I fumbled.
Okay.
Just 1 week in a row, maybe. 1 week in a row.
One in a row.
One in a row, please. 2 in a row. So thank you, Ben. It's a good thing I'm learning editing.
So anyway, now they get some hang gliders, and they fly across the whole city to the Chinese theater? I can't remember where they're at.
It's the Happy Kingdom something.
The Happy Kingdom something. Something
like that.
It also looked a lot. It looked a lot like the sets in the first movie. Is something that I noticed about this that I was really interested in.
Well, the first movie didn't have a lot of sets though. It was a lot of location stuff.
Yeah. Was this recycled from the first movie? This was something I was going to ask. Do you guys know?
I don't.
What, like the ideas?
The ideas definitely, but the sets, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I had a major problem with those hang gliders, though. They looked absolutely awful.
It looked like they recycled the bat cape when he goes like that from.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say it looks like they recycled the tablecloths for the craft services after each day of shooting.
Starch them and slowly lower them by crane.
Yeah.
No, when they first get them, it's fine. It's when they jump or whatever, and then they're flying, it's trash.
Well, they're also like tiny, right? Like they don't look like they would properly support a human being's weight.
Isn't that how big a hang glider is?
No, they're much bigger than that.
They're way bigger than that. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. Yeah, do you guys want to go hang gliding?
No.
Okay.
It's my worst nightmare.
Hey, do you guys want to get like a bunch of like garbage bags and like tape them to your wrists and ankles and
homemade squirrel suit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Squirrel Man. Death.
I told you at the beginning of the episode, I'm going to be the sloppy one today.
How about nobody's the sloppy one
ever?
How about nobody's the sloppy one ever, especially when we have a guest on the show? Especially. How about
Ben,
we stop doing this to Jason every week?
Jason, I'm sorry for pissing you off.
I'm not pissed. I'm fine.
Jason, I'm sorry for frustrating you.
Keep apologizing, and I'm canceling your subscription to my friendship.
You don't want me to apologize to you, is what you're saying.
Oh my God.
Stop.
You want me to stop talking?
I hate this Dumb and Dumber sequel that I've just become a part of.
The flaming bum was funny. Pam Grier was good, but also her voice was bad. How many people could they put on bluebacks? Ugh.
Oh,
tiny discs.
Here's something I wanted to bring up.
I get excited for tiny discs. We already talked about this.
We're funny. I liked the Aftershocks plot armor a little bit as a dumb thing. Every time that Snake was in a sticky situation, a tremor would happen, and then he'd be fine. It happens multiple times in the movie, specifically when
there's a lot of Deus Ex Machina happening in this movie, and
he's trying to get away from Eddie, and he's trying to get away from the president's
do you remember
daughter.
when he shoots the dart into Bruce Campbell's head, and then Bruce Campbell
slips.
just like falls and like cuts the ropes? So you're like, oh, okay.
Conveniently cuts his ropes.
No, he planned all of that out. Snake is such a master.
He didn't know he was going to cut his ropes.
Oh, he absolutely did. Snake is such a master planner.
He purposely got himself caught so he could just prove that he could do that.
Yeah. He has a computer inside of underneath his eye patch, and it's like a Terminator readout.
What, like
and it
Matrix?
tells him what's gonna, and it's the script.
Enzo Matrix?
No, it's the script of the movie that's playing, and he reads what's gonna happen next, and he knows what to do.
That'd be a fun
I
action
wrote
movie,
the
actually.
script. This is what's going to I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jason. You guys are so much closer to your cams.
I said what I said. I said what I said.
Oh God. My notes are gone.
Carjack Malone was the name of
Right, Carjack Malone is the name that he keeps using, but Hershey is the name that she prefers. Do you guys find it rude that he did not use the correct name?
I found it rude.
Yeah,
I thought that was a.
It's just ignorance.
Yo, give
Yeah.
him one. I give one. I didn't know, but after that, when they correct you and you still do it, that's rude.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, he
I was
seems
kind
to
of
defy
hoping.
everything.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that like when the helicopter was like in trouble and like going down, he was gonna be like Hershey, do the thing or whatever. But he still says Carjack, and I was like, "Fuck you, man! Stop being a boomer."
So they
No, well,
Being a
but
fucking boomer.
that's also kind of true to character. Like, so the thing with, okay, I might get a bunch of haters for this shit,
Oh no, he's gonna
but
say
we
something
are
offensive.
watching
Mute him.
and we're watching characters, right? And some characters have shitty sides to them, and I think it's more appropriate to show the shitty side of a character than to
Show growth
White
as a
wa-
character to make you like the character more.
You know, as much
Right.
as it pains me, I kind of see where Kalen's coming from in this one because I don't think Snake. I think Snake would actually think it's funnier to just keep dead naming his old friend than to say
Be appropriate?
like say Hershey to her. Does that make sense? I think it's a
makes
character
sense.
trait of Snake.
But he's not evil, guys. He's not evil.
No. He's not. He doesn't have to be evil though. It's not a matter of evil. He's ignorant. He's dumb.
Yeah.
He's a stupid, dumb, fucking '80s guy.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I feel like
an
Jack Burton would
anti-hero
have.
for sure.
I feel like Jack Burton would have said Hershey. That's all I'm gonna say. Jack Burton would have called her Hershey. I
Who the
understand what you're
fuck is
saying.
Jack Burton? No offense.
Big Trouble.
Oh,
Big Trouble in Little China.
that's a totally different movie.
I know, but it's the same director and same actor, and I was just making a joke. It was a joke. It
Let's
was a funny joke. I
talk
was
about the
making.
ending.
Hee-hee. Yeah.
I was
Okay.
playing along with the joke.
Because I'm
So-
getting
No.
mad.
Before we get to the ending, or actually, this is part of the ending. Trick them with the old hologram trick they tricked you with.
Yes, that happens after he sticks the little doomsday device into her pocket and the helicopter crashes, seemingly blowing him the fuck up.
No,
But,
he limps away from that explosion.
yeah, he's in a bush
barely an
somewhere
inconvenience.
bleeding to death, but he cleans himself up enough to hollow project himself.
What's
So,
the what's the
cool.
radius on the hologram again? Like
It was
20.
like 120 meters or some shit. It was like some very specific D&D fact. Like
Yeah,
you can,
yeah.
You can cast minor illusion from 100 feet away.
Yeah.
I wish they came up
And
with
I think you only
an
can do
original
it in 8
ending.
minutes. Is it 8 minutes? 8
Kalen,
minutes?
Ben is talking.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just saying I wish they came up with an original ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you go on? Give us
I
your
don't
ending.
know what it would have been. It's just we've already seen this before.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
The exact same thing.
This is a
What are we
kind of a
doing?
carbon copy of NY. Like, but let's not lie. Let's not jerk ourselves off.
And you
This is
can get
basically
away
a
with
carbon
that.
copy of NY, but with a little more flash, right?
Yeah. You can get away with doing that as long as you leave the audience on a high note.
Right.
Yeah. Not welcome to the human race. And we're all like,
Yeah.
what the fuck does that mean? Are you saying that we're in a race now? Like an actual foot race?
Okay, Ben, putting you on the spot. Write the ending right now.
No.
It's not his job. He was not one of the 3 writers in the writer's room.
Yeah, this movie exists already. Here's my ending. Here's my ending to this movie. It's the same ending because this ending is the most insane, like nod to the camera, nod to the camera, nod to the camera, like ending I've ever seen in a movie. Like he comes out of it, he does the switcheroo with the device, right?
Yeah, the movie like purports that like you have to believe that Snake Plissken knew he was going to crash, knew that they were going to catch him, he put the fake device into her pocket, keeping the real device because he knew that they would catch her, convince her to run to the forest. She gets caught. They take the device from her so that he can dramatically be like, all right, let's smoke some cigarettes and erase all electricity on planet Earth. And it's a little bit too much, you know. You're just like, all right, he could have just like killed everyone.
Do you think
he could have shot the
company,
president in the head, and
them?
the movie ended or whatever.
It was a very like it was a very like hard comedy way to approach those twists. And I think in the writer's room, even, they were probably like, we're gonna make them laugh. And then somebody was probably like, this isn't a comedy, though. And somebody else was, John Carpenter was like, ha ha.
Yeah. I guarantee Carpenter thought that he was being pretty funny with what he was doing, whether it was intentionally so for the audience, but he knew exactly.
What's it called? Facetious. I think he might have been facetious.
Yeah, that's
Doesn't facetious mean that you know better?
Like you're
still acting like a fucking asshole.
I think John Carpenter might have gotten halfway through this thing and been like, I don't really want to make a sequel.
He doesn't even do sequels.
Yeah. Like, I don't even really want to make this thing. And Kurt Russell's like, yeah, man, I'm going to do the action shit some more. Yeah. And the other person I'm not familiar with.
Deborah Hill?
Yeah, Deborah Hill.
Just the producer for a lot of his movies, and I believe they were a writing partner. I believe they were actually married for a while too.
I was gonna say I thought they had a romantic connection for a second.
Yeah, there's also some like if you do some Carpenter deep dive into like his inner circle, there's two people that leave his inner circle at the same time, and it's like I think is not a cinematographer, but like one of his. It's somebody that's like integral to the inner circle of movie production. One of his producers, maybe. And she and he leave at the same time, and I'm like, was there trouble in paradise? Give me a
Trouble in Little China
a biodoc or a biopic. I want to see some stories.
What do you say we do some final thoughts?
Yeah,
I think we're actually before we do final thoughts. I wanted to say this earlier: the old drive between two motorcycles and then drive off real fast and they shoot each other trick.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. That did happen.
Yeah.
That one's actually kind of.
That's
a thing,
actually that's actually pretty tropey.
Ben, come back to us.
All right, I'm gonna go in a different order than we started with in terms of our final thoughts. Kaylin, you go first.
I will go first. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I will say that I found this movie more fun than NY, New York. And I said it earlier, it did the things that we complained about in New York, this movie did. But the things that we liked about New York, it didn't do. But it was a fun watch. It hit the ground running with no stops. And for me, I found it more palatable, I think is the word to use. I would say it's a buy. And so if you're going to buy this, you might as well buy NY. And I give it a cool-ass leather duster.
Okay.
I don't know if this is going to keep working or going to keep failing this camera.
Well, why don't we let you go next then, just in case.
Right. So, final thoughts on this. I hate it. I just straight up hate this movie. I love John Carpenter. I love Kurt Russell. I love Pam Grier, Steve Buscemi. Everybody that's in the movie, I really enjoy. This movie is a disaster. I don't think it's written well. I don't think it's particularly filmed well. Some of the characters are quite good. Like I said, we get a lot more time with bigger characters that do carry the story a lot. It moves at a better pace than New York, but it is so much worse than New York. I forget what I gave. I think I gave New York 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
This is high 3.
Oh my god.
Nice.
Rough, but fair.
1.5 out of 5.
All right, Jason.
Oh my god.
Hit us with your final thoughts.
Goddamn, dude. I'm basically the opposite of Ben because listen to what I wrote upon finishing this film. That's right, film.
Oh no, there was a car chase and explosion.
Yeah, a car chase into an explosion, which is like high concept to me.
This is not a film.
Movie. Okay, I
calling
know.
this a film?
It's a joke. I made a joke there.
Okay, my bad.
Honestly, I liked this movie way more than the first. It is still wacky and dumb, but it leans into that way harder. I love that he has little snake tropes, so you like get a laugh here and there from those particularly. And let's be real, it's the same movie. Just amped up. It kind of reminded me of Crank 1 and Crank 2 in that respect. I talked about that earlier, as well as like the way that Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2 are essentially like a movie and then like a redo, not necessarily a reboot or a remake, just sort of a redo. But it also has differences, and the first feels like an indie flick to this being a blockbuster, like as far as how they're made. That doesn't. I'm going to interject into this writing.
Like an indie blockbuster.
Well, I'm talking now, so I'm going to interject into this and say that like that is unfortunately the reality, even though I didn't like the first because of its pacing, and I like this one better because of how, like, ironically I could get down with it. Much like Ninja Turtles 1 and 2, how it's like a complete 180 of a production. John Carpenter was able to really go all out in this one and finally prove to me that he can do a one genre movie. Some of the special effects were super dated, but I can see the innovation. After talking about it, like, I don't agree with that anymore. That's why it's fun to write your thoughts right after the movie's done. It basically had the 80s movie vibe, and I can see at the time people heralding it for being like a return to the classic formula. There might have been, I do suspect that in 1996 people were like, when do we get an 80s action movie again? The music is awesome, of course. It wasn't as good as the first one, but like the intro music I thought was really good. And some of the, like, you know, John Carpenter.
It's the same song from the first one.
Yeah. Okay. That's why I liked it so much.
Yeah, you're like, this sounds familiar.
Oh, no. I know what I meant by this. The music that's real music in this is cool. Like, they use like grungy. There's like a Tool song in it at one point. The end credits is White Zombie.
Yo, Rob Zombie.
It's White Zombie.
Yeah.
I like it slightly better than last week, than Escape from New York, but only in so much that I give it last week was a 3 out of 5. I give this a 3.3 out of 5. But I have to remind everybody that when I rate movies, it's how I feel. I'm not trying to say one is better than the other, like, objectively. I'm saying it's my own view, right? I like this movie better than Escape from New York, and I'm sorry that that's just the way it is.
I don't have to believe you.
I give this movie a knockdown, drag-out final battle climax that goes into 3 immediate double bluffs, ending with a cigarette. A true allegory for sex.
Gross. We're not allowed to swear, and sex is a swear word in my book.
We had 10 minutes where we couldn't swear. And
I know, I was just joking.
Yo, did we hit our goal? We didn't.
No,
swear?
we said. No, I said
not.
Fuck like 30 seconds later.
I don't think I did.
Can I say one more thing before we continue with final thoughts?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I'll make this really short. What sums up this movie for me is that they go to the trouble of showing Snake wearing his costume from New York.
Yeah.
Throwback right away, like, this is our old Snake Plissken, and then they give him a completely different Cobra tattoo. So it's like, why go to the trouble of reminding us of one film when you're just going to change another character element here? Minor to some, but like that's what it is to me. Like, it reminded me of something I really enjoyed and then gave me something similar that just wasn't as good.
Did he have shin pads in New York? That's one thing that stuck
His
out
boots,
to me.
he had high boots with like shin guards.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, you don't. You stuff your stories in a sack, Ben.
I'm just
That's
looking at
what it's
I'm just looking at pictures from the first one to see if he's wearing knee pads.
Shin pads.
Is he wearing a knee
He's
pad?
got knee-high boots or whatever.
Specifically shin pads.
So for me, I think that this movie is dumb fun, and I completely understand the opinion that the first one is better in terms of filmmaking, writing, execution, pacing. The pacing's not great in the first one, but the pacing is also too much in this one. It doesn't let you breathe at all. You're not able to take things in and appreciate stuff. And like I said throughout our discussion, I think that a couple of the elements in this movie are so good that if you were to just hyper focus on those and you could tell an entire story within just those little creative tidbits, it probably would have been a better time. I think that it knew what it wanted to do, but it just really didn't have the ability to do it, right? Like, too many writers, too many ideas, not enough budget for what they really wanted to accomplish. But it does shine in certain moments. And, you know, we went through our list of positives, and I do think that those are improvements from the first movie. And if, like you said, Ben, if they could take sort of the ability to improve the first movie in the way that we wanted in those small areas, you know, things like lighting and, you know, having a populated area that's not just only psychopaths trying to kill each other, and like have a little bit more world building, which is one thing that I think this movie sort of accomplished more so than the first one to me. The first one just seemed like, you know, a bunch of people fighting over territory constantly and consistently, whereas this seemed like an actual world that around every corner there would be something just as weird as the plastic surgery addicts / like zombies who need to steal your legs or else their legs will melt or whatever the fuck the story was happening there. I don't know how Peter Fonda and Jane Fonda are related, because Peter Fonda looks like a melting candle and Jane Fonda is like one of the most beautiful people who ever existed. I think
probably that XY chromosome.
I think Pam Grier got done dirty. She should have been brought in earlier. She should have been part of the show instead of just a poster name kind of thing, like somebody to put on the billing to bring in people that otherwise might not have seen this movie. I think that, like you were saying, the trickery at the beginning where he's wearing the same uniform, you think you're going to get the same thing, and then it's like, no, you're going to get the same thing, but this time it's covered in shiny leather. And I'm like, I don't want the shiny leather, though. I kind of liked it when it didn't have that. I know this movie also really received a polarized reaction from critics when it was released as well. There were people who loved it, people who hated it. I assume the people who loved it had never seen the first one, and the people who hated it were probably hoping for something different. But at the end of the day, I did enjoy it, but I don't think it's good. It's one of those movies where you understand that you're watching a bad movie while you're watching it, but there's enough in there to keep you watching. You're like, this is wacky. I want to see what the next wacky thing is that is going to be shown to me. So I think my rating for this movie is hot dude in a leather fire retardant outfit with an eye patch, but the eye patch is on the wrong eye. He's covering his seeing eye, and all he's got to see with is an empty eye socket. And he's, how do I get out of here? Where's the black box?
I would have liked a little like moment where he shows us what it looks like, because that's always funny.
Ooh, that would have been nice.
It's just a normal eye, and he's like, I just wear this so people are scared of me.
Cool. I can actually see through this perfectly.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's my rating.
We
got through it almost. So yeah, I enjoyed talking about this movie, and I really do. There is a part of me that would love to see a third one, even though I know it'll never happen. It'll never happen in the way that any of us
next week, yo.
I don't know if you heard what I just said. Not really. But what I am going to say
next week is kind of like the third one.
No, Kurt Russell's not in it. There's no eye patches.
No, I think
they're on Mars.
Kind of.
Anyway, Ben, I just wanted to say thank you again for coming by for 2 episodes. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for putting up with us.
You are welcome. You are welcome here anytime. And if you feel so inclined, you can come talk about Ghosts of Mars with us next week.
One of my favorite movies.
I'm sure it's not
Yo,
based on your
come
face.
back. Please come back next week.
I don't want to cut into your Wednesday night Dynamite time because that's what I'm going to do immediately following this.
What's a Dynamite?
I work in the
wrestling.
morning.
Oh fuck! Well,
It's like 12:30 here.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh God.
Thanks for going out of your way to do that. I do appreciate you coming on 2 weeks in a row. You're the first guest who actually appears twice. So
Wonderful.
Kudos to that. You are a fan. You are a friend of the show. I hope to have you back many times. I like talking about movies with you. So just as a little plug here at the end, at midnight tonight, and I'm sure Psychroat is going to say it in the chat, but at midnight, my episode that I recorded last night talking about Stay Tuned of the BS Bargain Bin podcast will go up. If you're watching this in 40 years from now, that episode has come and gone. Both of our podcasts, there's only our 2 podcasts left warring. There's 2 warring factions.
The only 2 that matter.
The only 2 that matter.
Yeah. LA and New York. They're based out of those 2 cities.
We did talk about Stay Tuned, which we have done on this show. I think that our conversation about Stay Tuned was different, and I would recommend any listener or viewer to go watch both back to back and just get fucking 3.5 hours of Jason talking about Stay Tuned. Yeah, so Steve, why don't you ask the question that's on everybody's mind?
I have one question and one question only.
Whoa, before you ask the question.
God. Yes.
See, the joke is Steve always forgets which comes first, so I thought I'd throw him a little curveball there.
You curved him.
We curved him.
Tell the viewers about the people.
Oh, yeah. So I just wanted to say
I can't see you.
Oh, hey, it's me, Steve.
I can see Kaylin. That's a you problem. It's
for Jason, for Kaylin, for Ben, I'm Steven.
And for Kaylin, and for Steve, and for Ben, I am Jason.
And for Ben, and for Steven, and Jason, I'm Kellen.
I'm not doing this.
Good.
Okay.
I don't like doing it either. I hate doing it. Hey. So let me ask you this. Hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
Hey, see this one over here? These fucking guys.
These fucking guys. Hey.
Whoa. Oh, thanks for doing that part at least.
Just need my surfboard.
You know what the weirdest part is that guy had 2 surfboards? Like, why the fuck did he have 2 surfboards there? He's one man. He doesn't need 2 of them.
He's a friendly surfer.
He's like, I always carry a spare.
Yo, I would.
You know, it'd be really funny if they were surfing on the same surfer.